Good evening and welcome to Year One Racing TV in partnership with Alpha Live. We are here for week 11 of the BSR MX5 2020 Pro Series at the Virginia International Raceway. We're racing on the northern configuration of the circuit. Joining me in the commentator, I'm Dan Blake, and joining me in commentary tonight is Jack Oliphant. We also have Graham Sesswood on the cameras. And what we see here, of course, is that this track is a little bit different to what we're used to seeing here at Virginia International Raceway. Once they go past the snake corners of 6A and 6B, usually they go straight towards the oak tree. But tonight, Jack, we're going right on the shorter configuration. I think some drivers may be quite happy it's not the full circuit tonight.
Yeah, I think these MX5s, looking at the practice, definitely, they sort of suit a smaller configuration, tight corners, some really close racing. So, yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting night. There's going to be some close championship battles, hopefully some really good racing, hopefully clean racing. But I think both us and the drivers should be really looking forward to the finale. As
we see, this has been the BSR MX5s. They do a full season, but it's split into sections of 12-week championships. And this one is going to be sort of the last that we have of the first section of the championship on this one, and championship points so far in the Pro Championship, Jamie Ayres is leading the championship with 3,228 points. In second place is Team Ultimate Knock Hill's Kip Stevens on 2,912. Steve Heffer for Momo as well, third with 2,809. Adrian Hendy for UM Racing has moved up to fourth. He has 2,656 points. And fifth is Daniel Hunt on 2,616. We're now going to have a look at the AM Championship very shortly as well. And that's Craig Jones, safeguard by result, leading that championship by 9 points. 11 points even. My maths has never been my strong point. To Andy Maxwell for Team Optical. Charles Cunningham is in third. Mick Barry fourth. And Roger Morton fifth. And finally, we have the Teams Championship, the one the teams are going for. Momo have quite a lead in that one. Second place are Year One Racing with Team Ultimate Knock Hill third, but their top Pro-Am team, Random Sim Sport Academy fourth, and Safeguard by result in fifth. So as we can see, Jack, even though we've had all these races so far this season, there's still not much between the drivers, and in some cases there's 11 points separating our top two AM drivers.
Yeah, the AM class is definitely where I find sort of the most exciting for today. I think Jamie Ayres has done a fantastic job sort of probably securing that pro top spot. But the AM class, as you say, I think 11 points to second, then 30 points back to Kellyman. It's a fantastic sort of battle that we've got going on for not only the championship as a whole, but coming down to this round. I can't wait for it. I think Momo has done a good job as well. And obviously Year One securing that couple of top spots, but I'm sure the team from Knock Hill will be knocking on the door, shall we say, if you'll pardon the pun, Dan.
So yeah, as you say, it is going to be a very interesting meeting to see who can be on top during this. As we say, there is a lot going on with these ones, and qualifying is underway at the moment, and the fastest driver in the session currently is Daniel Hunt on a 1:37.440 with Jamie Ayres second, Steve Heffer third, and Year One's Adrian Hendy fourth. So Hendy fourth in the championship, currently fourth in this qualifying session. You see Daniel Hunt there trying to go past the two Momo drivers, and as always around the BSR MX5 Pro Series, slipstream qualifying I think it's going to be quite important.
Yeah, and I was just remembering from last week, I think Dan Hunt is the most winningest driver of the championship, so don't be surprised if he secures this pole position. Currently has it by half a second, but as you can see, they're all trying to queue up behind Dan Hunt to try and get some kind of slipstream, and Jamie Ayres did a fantastic job of sort of doing consistent driving at Monza last week. He's going to be, as we see, Dan Hunt singing his praises, and off he goes, and that happened far too often last week in the commentator's curse, unfortunately.
I wonder if that was tactical. He didn't want the two drivers behind him to catch him up, but Dave Chapman has gone second fastest at 1:37.849. So Dave Chapman, who in real life has raced in the BRSCC Mazda MX5 Super Cup, the highest level of MX5 racing in the UK, and taking victories in that championship as well. But he's just been eclipsed by James Sharp for Movano with a 1:37.771. So the times are changing sort of by the corner pretty much at the moment.
Yeah, keep an eye out for Kip Stevens. It's not hard to miss him with that livery. It was we just had eyes on it a couple of seconds ago, just behind Dave Chapman. He's currently second in the championship. He's close to third though, but he could see some flying times put in by Kip. He's always at the sharp end, so there he is in fact, in the multicoloured car. It's going to be hard to miss him on the broadcast, so keep an eye out for Kip. And yeah, hopefully we'll see some good racing from him as well if he can get a better time. He's currently 25th.
So Kip Stevens actually has the same logo he was using in the NHS charity race, it looks like, that we covered on Sunday. So very, very unusual for Kip to have the same paint scheme, but he's providing us with that today, so it's good to see. And he just lets James Sharp through, but Kip's one of those drivers that you don't know what's going to happen with Kip. He's so unpredictable, both on track and off the track, and one of the real characters of the BSR Championship.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching him. I think I've got a different paint pack to you, actually. I've tried to install it, but he's currently multicoloured on my screen. But Dan Hunt in the lead still by 0.3 of a second. It was obviously, maybe it was tactical to try and stop the Momo guys behind him getting a bit of a run. He's doing a really good job of putting in a flyer right at the beginning of the session. He's got no one in front of him to provide a slipstream, so he's going to find it difficult to go faster. Sharp's just gone faster behind him, actually. He's only a 0.14 seconds behind him now, so he might be able to put in a storming lap and take that pole position.
As we now are on board with Daniel Hunt, and is he going to do a lap? It looks like he's heading towards the pit lane. Yes, he is. So Daniel Hunt will go into the pit lane. We're now on board with Peter Van Gool, one of those Momo cars who is trying to catch up to Daniel Hunt, and we'll take a lap at this Virginia International Raceway North Circuit with Peter Van Gool. He puts a time in of a 1:38.7 on that lap, no improvement. But we're going now into turn one, the horseshoe. Yeah, quite predictably, it's a turn that goes on onto itself, really, the right-hander. And then that puts you down towards turn 2 and turn 3, which is NASCAR Bend. We're just going through 2 now. And then a left-hander of NASCAR Bend. Short shoot here before we hit turn 4A, left hook. And this is quite a tricky section as it goes through 4B, 5A and 5B towards Snake, which, as you can see, it's winding, so the Snake like a sidewinder, and we'll come under the bridge, and this is where, of course, the track separates. Normally they'll go straight, but here at turn 7 is where Peter Van Gool will take a hard right-hander, and you do skip out probably about half the circuit by doing that, and then you go towards turn 8 and turn 9 here on the circuit. It's not fully straight, but Peter Van Gool getting very sideways there in his Momo racing car, and he's now going down towards the roller coaster here at turn 10, one of the iconic corners at Virginia International Raceway, up to 11, and then the final turn, which he drops down to now, will be 12A and 12B, affectionately known as Hogpen. So down the Hogpen he goes, Peter Van Gool, and he will complete the lap now. As we see, he'll just cross the start-finish line shortly. He's down the start-finish straight now. We did see him have that little moment earlier in the lap, so if it's an improvement for Peter Van Gool, it'd be a very good lap. I don't think he's going to improve on this lap, but he's still got time. No improvement, but there is an improvement for McAleer ahead of him, so McAleer goes 8 for the 1:38.672, but on that lap there's no improvement for Peter Van Gool.
Now, McAleer was actually the car that was just behind Peter Van Gool, as we see him now, actually. Peter Van Gool's in the red Momo car, and McAleer was just behind him for that entire lap we were on board. And it was just a great lap to watch as well. You can sort of see the MX5s, they dance around their handfuls of cars. And through a circuit like this, it's small, it's thin, we can see people sort of going off, left, right, and centre. The back end will be wanting to step out constantly, going over the undulations of this track. So to see although we saw a moment from Pete Van Gool, to see a consistent lap from him without the car going too sideways is very impressive driving.
It is very impressive indeed, and this circuit really does test, as we said before, the car and the driver. We were talking about Daniel Hunt earlier. He is, of course, the most winningest driver in the BSR MX5 Pro Series. Out of the 40 races that we've had so far this season, Daniel Hunt has taken 8 victories, as we see an improvement for Kip Stevens, a 1:38.362, which is good enough for 6th place. So Kip pushing further at the top 10, but Daniel Hunt has won nearly a quarter of these races this season, and it is a very long season. We're qualifying now for what is the 41st race of the season, and they have 140 races in total. So at this point we have 100 races left to go, and when we start the race very shortly in about 6 minutes time, there'll be 99 to go. So even though people like Jamie Ayres have got a really good start to the season, there is still a very long time for it to go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you can see Dan Hunt's position in the championship is a testament to that, really, because although he's the most winningest driver, as we like to say as commentators, currently sitting 5th in the championship. So, he can win nearly a quarter of the races that have been so far. But as you just said, we're not even halfway through this series. We've got another 100 to go after, once we start, obviously, the next race, it'll be 99. But it's going to be really interesting to see how this championship sort of ebbs and flows, whether Jamie Ayres manages to pull that gap, or whether he sort of gets reeled in a little bit. He's got a lot to be reeled in by, but it's going to be interesting for him.
Jamie Ayres has been very consistent, and that's what's put him in the position he has. He's had 6 wins himself, though, Jamie Ayres. Also, another driver with 6 wins is James Sharp from Avano Sim Racing as well, who is actually currently only 8th in the championship. So with 6 wins, he's only got 8th in the championship. He's not been getting those results week in, week out like Jamie Ayres has. As we now look at Alan Toon, the gentleman himself, another one of the characters in the BSR MX5 Pro Series, and Alan really enjoys his racing, and it's great to see his passion and commitment every single week to the series.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see someone like Alan being involved. He might not be the fastest, he may not be sort of the most involved in all the racing, but he's out there loving his racing. He's out there loving driving the cars around. If you can't get out there in real life, then we all know the sim world is a fantastic opportunity for you to get involved and drive some of your favourite historic races, and just really get involved. He's a nice chap as well. He was commenting on some of my streams earlier this week. Just really nice, down to earth guy.
Yeah, as I say, Alan, one of the main characters we have in the championship, and we're delighted to have him with us as well. So thank you very much, Alan, and keep up the good work. We're now watching Ralph Cullen on the screen, who's currently just outside the top 10. He is in 11th place for Result Cloven. He needs to find just over a 1/10 of a second if he's going to get into the top 10. Steve Hefford's a little bit lower than I was expecting him to be. He's only currently actually 8th place in the session. We saw him take a victory at Brands Hatch on the Grand Prix circuit, and then he's also taken a win at Monza, I think, last week as well. So Steve Hefford, someone who struggled to get a win, but he's got 2 in quite quick succession. But considering he's 3rd in the championship, he'd probably be a little bit disappointed that he's currently only 8th on the grid. But the drivers just have over 2 minutes to go in the qualifying session, so they will be priming up to start the last laps very shortly, and Hefford will be one who'll be hoping he can claw the gap. He's got 1.2 seconds, although Hefford currently in the pits at the moment, so there'll be no improvement for Steve Hefford.
Yeah, I think Sharp and Chapman are on their outlaps, but everybody who's in the pits is really cutting it fine now, and it's really important to get the slipstream around here, and maybe Hefford didn't manage that earlier in the session. Hunt obviously put in a storm in time, and we see Sharp, he's right up the backside of the car in front. I'm not entirely sure who that is at the moment.
Kip Stevens. So, but looking at Ben Sharp, Kip Stevens moves out the way, but I think that's put Ben Sharp off a little bit, and Lord Ben Sharp, as he's been named for the past couple of weeks, he's had his lordship taken away though for today, so he's having a bit of fun with us with that. But Ben Sharp now going through 5A and 5B towards the back straight, and just the fact Kip Stevens went off when he did, it looked like Ben Sharp lost a lot through there, just purely because he was following what Kip was doing. And as a racing driver, I know myself and yourself for his races as well, that sometimes you can get sort of stuck in, when you're seeing someone do that, you can be so focused that you make the same mistake, and it'd be interesting to see if Ben's able to improve. So it did look like he may have been compromised a little bit there.
Yeah, as an instructor always told me to just sort of look through the next driver and look to your apexes and braking zones and everything, and that's pretty much impossible unless you're an extremely experienced racing driver. Sometimes you just get caught looking at the car ahead, and we just saw Sharp having a bit of a moment here, and unfortunately I think that scuppered his lap. He just clipped a big curb, as he continues to clip a few big curbs actually. But Ben, yeah, I think he's scuppered his lap there. He's probably going to try and jump into the pits. Yeah, he knew that one wasn't going to make him pole position, unfortunately.
Daniel Hunt's just come across the line as well, but no improvement. A 137.516, very close. But James Sharp is on a lap at the moment. Just looking at his sectors at the moment, his 3 sectors so far are yellow, so no green and no purple, which is what James Sharp will be needing if he wants to get the qualifying time for pole position. As a checkered flag is now out in the session, so this is the last chance these drivers are going to get to get a time in. James Sharp aborts the lap. He's very slow coming out of 12A and 12B. Someone who's not going to abort the lap is Mick Barry. That was a spectacular leap over the curb of Hogpen for Mick Barry. And Mick Barry, in fact, he is going to abort the lap. So a lot of drivers actually aborting laps at the moment, as we see the American driver Ryan Main for Year 1 Racing Academy. He's got quite a bit of damage to the right-hand side of that MX5 as well. So looks like he's had a little scrape somewhere along the line. And Ryan Moles is just about to finish his lap. He will complete the lap. His fastest lap so far is at the time, which is 2.7 seconds behind. Is it an improvement though for Ryan Moles? He crosses the line. It is up to 18th place at 139.733. So Ryan Moles into the top 20 with his final lap.
Yeah, I think one of the most impressive laps that I saw there, actually, well, we didn't see it that much, was actually Daniel Hunt's last lap. Because although it wasn't an improvement to his own personal best, it still would have been good enough for pole. So you can see how quick he is and consistent. He can obviously do it 1 or 2 laps in a qualifying session. He's going to be doing it quite a few times in the race. And I think we'll be able to show you the grid coming up soon. In about a minute and a half. So yeah, I think we're going to have a really strong race towards the front. And it's also a bit more distinct between the AMs and the pros, which is something at Monza. We saw a bit more of a... which was interesting to see.
Monza, one of those circuits which is very draft friendly. It's a bit of a different challenge in this circuit, and I think the AM drivers, it'd be interesting to see just how close they can be to each other compared to, as you say, at Monza there. So Monza is a little bit of an equaliser is on that one as well. But as we see Daniel Hunt there just taken to the grass on our replay, he's the provisional pole position driver at the moment. I don't think there's anyone else on track to go ahead of him, and I'm looking forward to this first race, Jack. What are you looking forward to about round 41 of the championship?
I'm hoping for some really close racing. As I said, the main appeal for me at the moment in this personal race is the AM class, because as you said, it's so close in the championship. Tonight's going to be really telling as we see Charles Kellyman get all sorts of undesirable through that corner, and unfortunately heading off the track. I'm sure that put the car behind him off a little bit as well. But yeah, the AM class is the closest one we've got, the battle we got going on today. The pro class, it'll be some high class racing, but I'll let you take us through the grid.
So Daniel Hunt on pole position with James Sharp alongside him on the front row. Second row is Dave Chapman and Ben Sharp with Jamie Ayres and Kip Stevens on row 3. Adrian Hendy, Steve Hefford, Stuart McAleer and Peter Van Gool round out the top 10. Ralph Cullen 11th and Charles Kellyman is 12th on pole position for the AMs. Stephen McAleer 13th with Rob Graham 14th. Mick Barry is 15th with Joe McDonald in 16th. Martin Sampson and Ryan Moore 17th and 18th. Top 20 rounded up by Roger Morton and Ryan Main. Craig Jones is 21st with Phil Reagan in 22nd. Alan Toon 23rd, Steve Hansford 24th. And rounding out the top 30 on the grid for the first race, we have Graham Slack, Steve Cooley, Vincenzo Amico, Sam McAleer, David Ward and Michael Vortman. And that's 3 cars on our 33-car grid. And Nathan Davis, Andy Maxwell and Aaron McGregor.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited for this first race. I can't wait for them to grid up. I think one of the big notes as well is Jamie Ayres qualifying 5th as we see them start to grid up. Jamie Ayres starting 5th. And I think we're about to start seeing them.
So as we see there, Daniel Hunt on pole position, James Sharp alongside. And then that second row is the car of Dave Chapman and also Ben Sharp for Year 1 Racing. And it'd be interesting to see what sort of start drivers like Jamie Ayres and Steve Heffer can make. They are lower down than maybe expected on championship form. As we see the last few cars beginning to grid up, they have 2 minutes, and that 2 minutes is up now because I can see that the lights are ablaze on the screen. That's 2, 3, 4, 5. The engine notes rise here at VAR. The clutches are out. It's Daniel Hunt who has the lead, but he's made a very poor start. It looks like James Sharp is going to go round the outside and take the lead. And Dan Hunt could lose another position here because Dave Chapman is also going alongside, and Jamie Ayres has made a good start from 5th place. In fact, he's going to go 3 wide down the middle. There's a bit of contact behind, but it's James Sharp who leads. Daniel Hunt has managed to hold on to 2nd place, but Jamie Ayres is all over the back of Daniel Hunt, the most winningest driver in the series. As we go down towards NASCAR Bend Turn 3, Ayres on the inside. He's just about going to make it stick. He's going to have the inside line for the next couple of corners as well, but Daniel Hunt fighting bravely around the outside, keeps 2nd. But what that means, Jack, is that James Sharp is already starting to pull out a bit of a lead.
Yeah, and I think it was a fantastic shot from Jamie Ayres there. And David Chapman actually had a really good start, but he ended up slipping further back. So he's lost out a couple of places. But wow, what a start by James Sharp. And Daniel Hunt, he'll be hoping to pull in Jamie Ayres here. It's Ben Sharp really putting the pressure on him now. That's not what he'll want to see from these opening laps. He probably was hoping to get a bit further up.
So Ben Sharp for Year 1 Racing, who is currently actually 6th in the championship, and Ben has had a victory this season as well, so he has been on the top step of the podium. Jamie Ayres, though, championship leader, is currently, as we see, down in 3rd place, but he's made 2 places up, of course. He just started the race in 5th place, so there have been some gains for Jamie Ayres. We now look at Stuart McAleer in the number 45 car. And just towards the bottom end of the top 10, there's Kip Stevens and Steve Hefford as well, 2 drivers where Steve Hefford's probably not had the best of starts, but as the cars cross the line for the first time, it's James Sharp leads from Daniel Hunt with Jamie Ayres 3rd, Ben Sharp is 4th, Dave Chapman 5th, Adrian Hendy is in 6th, Kip Stevens we're looking at now in 7th, with Steve Hefford in 8th and McAleer in 9th place. And I believe we have got some replays being primed up for us of what's happened there on the first lap from our director, Mr. Graham. So there we go. We're looking at the car of, that's McGregor and one of the McAleers going across the track. It's Sam McAleer. So and Sam McAleer did very well there not to come back into the, that could have been much worse than it was by Sam McAleer. We got one here for, and that's the contact. It was with Steve Cooley. So the Ronin Cinesport Academy driver and Sam McAleer were the 2 cars that came together there on the run down to the first corner. As we also, Ryan Moll was having contact there with one of the optical cars. I'm not quite sure which one that was because the camera's a little bit, Mick Barry has also had contact with the car as well. So it's Mick Barry, one of those drivers who said at the start, who is fighting for the AM Championship. He's one of those top 5, but as we see, action all over the place, Jack, on the first corner. And when you have a 33 car grid, it's a first corner like that, when they've had a bit of speed, that can happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, it can, but as you were describing the replay, I was actually having a look at the timing screen. Jamie Ayres down to 11th place. We left him, and I think he was in 2nd or 3rd. He's just falling.
Let's have a look in the replay. It's got McAleer is a bit of a door bang there with McAleer. I don't think there was much malice in that. It just seemed that Jamie Ayres didn't seem to have the speed. Maybe there was a slowdown or something there because it looked like McAleer took a lot more commitment into the corner than Jamie Ayres, and that's strange to see from Jamie Ayres. We'll have another look at it again. Yeah, he's not at full throttle there, so something's happened to Jamie Ayres. Either he's had a technical issue or maybe a slowdown. He seems to be back on the pace now, so I'm going to suggest maybe he had a technical issue there, but he definitely was not travelling through that corner at full pace. You could tell just by listening to the engine note, he was backing off.
Yeah, I thought maybe he got the corner just before a bit off. As you see, he's trying to attack Martin Sampson here, but I thought maybe the corner before he might have got the back end out. He didn't look like he was making the apex, and McAleer just thought, well, I'm making that apex, and just straight up the other side of him. Obviously, unfortunately, it ended a bit worse for Jamie Ayres. But yeah, now that's thrown his racing into a bit of a conundrum now. It's only a 15-minute race. Will he be able to make up the final 10 minutes, make up anywhere near the top 10?
I think he probably will make the top 10, but it's going to be interesting to see just how far he can get. Dave Chapman is putting a lot of pressure now on the car of Ben Sharp. So Ben Sharp in the podium place for Year 1 Racing following the demise of Jamie Ayres in the podium places. And we said Dave Chapman, a multiple winner in the BSR MX5 Super Cup, so he knows how to drive these things. Ben Sharp as well, a real world racer in the Civic Cup as well. So these 2 real world racing car drivers are going to be fighting hard together to try and see if they can catch up potentially to the drivers ahead potentially, because we've got James Sharp, fastest lap of the race, 1:37.3. Daniel Hunt is done a 37.4, and Chapman slightly quicker than Sharp, and he's going to be much quicker than Sharp now because Ben Sharp has gone wide at the first corner. He missed his braking a little bit too late there. He's got to drop at least 2 or 3 positions. He's going to end up in 6th place, just behind Kip Stevens. But for Ben Sharp, that looked like it was just a loss of concentration.
Yeah, these cars are difficult and slightly unpredictable. Every time you hit the brake pedal, your tyres might be hotter, your brakes might be hotter. I think he just misjudged that one a little bit and just went straight on. Maybe he was driving in his mirrors a little bit. Dave Chapman put so much pressure on from behind. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. We're on board with Martin Sampson, who's Jamie Ayres has actually managed to get past. So Jamie Ayres' next victim may be Stuart McAleer, who's just ahead of him as well. It's going to be really interesting to see and sort of keep a track on how well Jamie does. As we see Ben Sharp now, he may be trying to put a move on Kip Stevens, but that'll leave him vulnerable to McAleer behind him.
There's Stephen McAleer behind him, who races in America in the Pilot Challenge IMSA, races in their BMW GT4, so there's a whole range of experience on the grid, from sim races to club races to racers who race at a slightly higher level as well, and they all come together on a Tuesday night and produce some fantastic racing us, and I'm sure you the viewers enjoy watching. And Stephen McAleer there took a lot of curb, and he did well to not go off the track there. I thought he was going to go onto the grass. He does get a little touch of it there, but fantastic save there from Stephen McAleer. Great car control, but Kip Stevens looks like he's got to slow down because Ben Sharp has gone past him very quickly. It was either a very good run in the slipstream for Ben, or Kip had to slow down or something. But will Ben get it slowed down again for this first corner? Yes, he will. So the mistake from the previous lap, not heavy on the heart of Ben Sharp. He's able to get that first corner. As Charles Kellyman we're looking at now, who actually currently leads the AMS at the moment, and he's got Joe McDonald behind him as well. So as far as the AM Championship goes, Charles Kellyman is actually currently third in the AMS. We saw the current second place driver in the AMS, Andy Matzo, in the pits at the end of the first lap. He had some damage. I believe it was him in contact with the frantic racing car that we saw on the replay. So Andy Matzo will not be scoring points, it doesn't look like, in this one. So his rivals such as Kellyman, Craig Jones, Mick Barry, it's a big opportunity for them to gain points. And what, as we've been saying all night, is a really tight AM Championship at the moment.
Yeah, this is the sort of real excitement in terms of the championship stuff. Joe McDonald putting his name into the mix for this particular race. I'm not sure where he is in the championship, but he's going to not give up that second place for sure. And he's got Steve Hefford, obviously a big name in the Pro Championship, currently third before this race, all the way down in 13th with Jamie Ayres in 14th. So two big names in the Pro Championship actually fighting among the AM Championship at the moment.
It's a very bad race for Momo. I can't remember the last time that the first car for Momo was 9th place, which is Peter Van Gool. So it looks like all three of the Momo drivers have been in the wash. You can see Hefford there, very substantial damage to the front and rear of his Mazda MX5, his global MX5 that we're using in this championship. He's going to try and go past Joe McDonald, but he's going to be severely compromised in terms of his straight line speed, just purely because of the damage that he's got on that car. In the slipstream, he's not able to pull that much closer to McDonald.
No, it's... Oh, in fact, apparently we've got a replay, so we're going to cut to that. As we see... No, that's... Yeah, I was going to say the damage looked already done. Steve Hefford just looked like he wasn't expecting the car up the inside, and they carried both too much speed. But I don't think that was quite the damage. We see Steve Hansen trying to go around the outside. It's not going to quite work, even if you're on the inside there. If you're on the grass, you're on the grass, unfortunately. But he's putting pressure all over the back of David Ward, the pro driver, just ahead of him.
David Ward started in the back of the grid this one. I think he was one of the drivers who had a qualifying penalty. But the 2-year-1 racing car drivers now are no to tell with Adrian Hendy and Ben Sharp. So Ben Sharp, after he made that mistake at the first corner, has reeled in Adrian Hendy, the driver for Year 1 Racing, his teammate. And Hendy's had a very good past few weeks. He was outside the top 5 in the championship, and he's now up into 4th place. So he's had a couple of weeks where he's had some really good consistent finishes, and it just shows that in this BSR MX5 Pro Series, despite the fact there's so many races, that if you can have a couple of consistent weeks in a row, you really do build the momentum. And even if Ben Sharp gets past Adrian here, a top 5 finish will be really good for Adrian, considering people like Jamie Ayres are having a bad night, Steve Hefford's having a bad night, Kip Stevens is behind him. So Adrian will be gaining points on a lot of drivers ahead of him, even if he finishes in 5th.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic result for him, and if he does, and the only person who's going to be really gaining is he goes up the inside. There's that Ben Sharp on Adrian Hendy, and Adrian Hendy's gone very wide. I hope he hasn't fallen off the circuit there, but Ben Sharp makes that move stick into the first corner, and both drivers come off all right. So Ben Sharp has made that move back up to 4th. I'm sure he'll be having Dave Chapman in his sights if he can see him, that is. He's an awful long way back from Chapman at the moment. I think the gap is about 5 seconds, so he might not be able to bridge that gap in the last 5 minutes. but Chapman is really putting Hunt under pressure here. So you never know if they start battling and start lunging at each other. I'm sure Ben Sharp will be trying to catch up as well.
We've been having so much fun in this race that time has flown by. We've had 11 minutes already. There's 4 minutes to go. And this battle for the second place on the podium between Daniel Hunt and Dave Chapman, I think, is one that we're going to be watching for a little while, because Chapman is putting Hunt under a lot of pressure. And Dave Chapman is new to the championship. He's only probably done 3 or 4 meetings with us. He's been, as we say, one of the newer drivers, but he's come in with some real pace. And that's what we love to see here in the BSR MX5 Pro Series, is that when we get new names in, and they're challenging at the front, it gives the drivers at the front something to think about for sure. And Daniel Hunt goes through turn 12B at the hog pen, and I think Dave Chapman's actually had a much better run there. Daniel Hunt pushed a little bit wide, going defensive already. Down the start finish straight is Hunt. So Chapman is in the slipstream. Chapman's going to have to go the long way round, but as the cars now side by side as they cross the start finish line, as we now are on lap number 8 of this race, and they're going to brake for the first corner. Chapman tries to brake later than Hunt. He's on the outside line. Probably not the best line to be on, but if he can get the momentum down and get the acceleration, he'll have the inside for NASCAR at 3. They go through 2 now, and Dave Chapman, I think, will be able to do it. Hunt's going to try and fight it around the outside. We've seen what's happened earlier. A little bit of contact between the two there on entry, but Dave Chapman up into second place.
Fantastic driving from both of them, really. No contact, everyone clean, still on the circuit. Lovely to see. Dave Chapman has made his way up past Daniel Hunt, and who obviously was the pole sitter on this race. So it's clear Daniel Hunt hasn't had the race he was dreaming of, but James Sharp has had the race that Daniel Hunt was dreaming of, making his way up from second to first. He's absolutely driven away, which is fantastic to see. It's 4.5 seconds clear, and he's absolutely loving it. 3 more minutes to go for him. That's probably going to be, I think, 2 or 3 more laps, perhaps.
I think he may get 2 more laps in. We'll see what it is when he crosses the line as he goes towards the roller coaster at turn 10. He's at the end of the lap pretty much now, and I think a lap round here takes about 1:38, 1:39. So we've got 2 minutes left now. I think there'll be two laps to go at the line, so we'll have 10 laps, I think, in this first race. And for those of you who are new to the BSR MX5 Pro Series, the way the races are worked out is the first race is a timed race of 15 minutes. And then for the next 3 races, we get the lap number. So if James Sharp does complete 10 laps, that is what we'll get for the next 3 races. And of course, races 2, 3, and 4, we get the Wheel of Fortune to reverse the grids a little bit as well. But speaking of reversing things, side by side, Daniel Hunt trying to reverse the position back on Dave Chapman and take second place back. And it looks like he's going to try and do exactly the same move that Chapman pulled on him at this point a lap ago. Chapman's turn now to fight on the outside. Hunt has the inside line for NASCAR at turn 3. This time there's no contact between the two, but Chapman will try and get the cut back, but Daniel Hunt keeps the possession. So in second place is Daniel Hunt. He's taking that one back. And at the bottom end of the top 10 here, we've got a nice little battle going on. Kip Stevens looks like he's had maybe a slowdown because he's pulled over to the left, and that's allowed Ralph Cullinan, Peter Van Gool, and Vincenzo Amico, a driver that we haven't really spoken about much in this race, but Vincenzo Amico into the top 10. Kip Stevens is 10th at the moment. The AMs, I know people like to think about that. We've got Charles Kennyman in 11th, who's leading the AMs. Joe McDonald second in AM and 13th. And Joe McDonald is actually only 12th place in the AM Championship at the moment. So good drive from Joe McDonald. And what you'll see, as you can see at the top of the screen there, the drivers who are pro on the left-hand side are in blue and the AMs are in green. So thank you very much to Graham Sessford for sorting that out for us. And it means that you at home will be able to also keep up to date with who's doing what and be a bit more sort of informed as race fans, as we see James Sharp will cross the line with 20 seconds about to go. So I think we will go that full distance of 10 laps here. So James down the start finish straight now. He'll cross the timing line, but behind it's all actions again between Dan Hunt and Dave Chapman. Chapman will again try to go past Dan Hunt. The last 3 laps, these two have been side by side through the opening section in the lap. Chapman will have to take that outside line. We've seen him do it already once on lap number 8 before Daniel Hunt did exactly the same back, but Hunt's going to try and brake later and deny Chapman the outside line, which he has done, and Daniel Hunt braked much later than in previous laps, Jack.
Yeah, I thought we were going to see a best 2 out of 3 there for this last lap. But yeah, Hunt manages to keep himself ahead of Chapman. That doesn't mean Chapman's going to lie down, though, and take this 3rd place. I'm sure he's going to try and attack Daniel Hunt back for this 2nd place. As long as these guys keep it clean, they'll both have good championship points coming their way. But Hunt obviously sees a big opportunity to try and chase down Jamie Ayres all the way down in 15th at the moment. and the other championship contenders, of course, as well. But yeah, Chapman's not going to make this easy for him as they come under the bridge. Chapman's looking to the outside. Hunt is on the inside. Chapman, he can't quite carry the momentum round there, but is he going to try to cut back? No, there's only one line through there, really, and Chapman just corrects his car a little bit as they come back down the hill. It's going to be very narrow, this section of the track, so it's going to be interesting to see if Chapman can make any kind of move before this race ends, or whether he's going to go up the inside. Here we go now. As he's going up the inside, no, he just managed to back out of that one. It would have been far too tight, I think.
But one man who's not had anything to worry about is James Sharp, who comes round the hog pen for the final time. The start-finish line in front of him, round 41 of the BSR MX5 Pro Series, will go to James Sharp, who will take his 7th win of the season. There we go. Victory for James Sharp. We also noticed there earlier in the lap that 5th place changed hands. McAleer getting ahead of Hendy, but 2nd place goes to Hunt. Chapman takes 3rd. Ben Sharp will take 4th place. As we say, that was that change on the final lap. Stephen McAleer edging out Adrian Hendy. Ralph Cullinan with a good race here as well. He'll take 7th place, and then another close finish behind. That's Van Gool and Amico, with Stevens rounding out at top 10. Steve Herford, though, 11th place. He'll be disappointed with that. Charles Kellyman takes an AM victory in 12th place. Joe McDonald, 13th. And Michael Vortman, 14th. They are your 3 AM podium drivers. Jamie Ayres down in 15th place. Our championship leader, not having the best of races, but he's brought the car home, and that's the main thing. Even if you finish 15th, you're still getting those points on the board. So, for Jamie Ayres, not the best of races, but he still has those points on the board. And I think that's probably the most important thing when you have a race like that, is that you finish.
Yeah, I just want to shout out a few people as well for Vincenzo Amico. 18 places made on that race. Michael Wortman, 16, and Aaron McGregor, 16 as well. So some real sort of high movers in terms of actual starting positions to finishing positions. So really good racing.
We saw some, even though the circuit's not the widest of tracks, there's a few tight corners, there is overtaking made, and that start-finish straight going into turn 1 it's a really good overtaking opportunity. And we saw Daniel Hunt and Dave Chapman really going at it for 2 or 3 laps there, and Daniel Hunt just edging out. And we're going to now see the reverse grid draw. Graham Sesford has that Wheel of Fortune up, and we're going to find out who has pole for race number 2 here at Virginia International Raceway North Circuit. It's spinning like a record. 28, is that, Graham? 28. So Graham Slack will be on pole position with Alan Toon, the gentleman himself, alongside him. Mick Barry will be 3rd with Phil Reagan 4th and Steve Hansford 5th. So the likes of James Sharp, Daniel Hunt and Dave Chapman will be starting in 28th, 27th and 26th respectively. Thank you very much for watching round 41, race 1 here from Virginia International Raceway. And you'll be able to see just how Graham Slack and the rest of the field get on when we come back to you very shortly for race 2 of the evening here on Neuron Racing TV in partnership with Alpha Live. Good evening and welcome back to Virginia International Raceway. We are on the North layout for now what is round 42, our second race of the evening for the BSR MX5 2020 Pro Series. My name is Dan Blake, I am your lead commentator for tonight. Alongside me we have Jack Oliphant and we have Graham Sessford on the cameras as well. We saw a very interesting first race. The battle for the lead was non-existent, but Daniel Hunt and Dave Chapman putting on a real show towards the end of the race to fighting out for second place, one that Daniel Hunt was able to get the better of. This race though, I think we're going to see a completely different story because the reverse grid wheel that Graham has spun has put number 28 as our pole position driver, which was Graham Slack. So he finished 28 and on pole position, meaning that the drivers such as Sharp, Hunt and Chapman will be starting at the bottom end of the top 30. And Jack, I think that's going to be a recipe for quite an interesting second race.
It's going to be a very interesting second race. That fight for the podium in the last race obviously ended a bit early for Ben Sharp, outbreaking himself into the first corner, but he managed to fight it back. So you clearly can overtake around this circuit, and Vincenzo Amico with 18 places gained in the last race clearly showed that. So the likes of those top-end drivers, the Jamie Ayres, the Hefford, the Hendy, the Hunt, the Sharp, Chapman, they're all going to be fighting their way up through the traffic. I'm sure Jamie Ayres finishing 15th in that last race. I'm sure he probably was hoping for a lower spin number to be sort of a bit more in the chance of a higher up qualification spot in this second race. But he's going to be starting pretty much bang in the middle as he finished.
That's an interesting point to make as well. They didn't have such a good race in the first one, but what it has done is given them maybe a slight advantage for the second race. And the fact they finished sort of 13th, 15th in sort of that area means that that's about where they will start for the second race. And in terms of the championship points as well, the AM Championship, we know how close the AM Championship has been, and Craig Jones actually has a 37-point lead over Charles Kellyman, who has gone above Andy Maxwell. Andy Maxwell didn't have the best of races in that first one. He'll be looking for better in this one, but he will be starting near the back of the grid, of course, because he wasn't able to finish this one. But in the Pro Championship, the battles are, there's been no changes in sort of in the top 10 area really in that Pro Championship. So the Pro Championship is stayed as it is in terms of drivers being quite close together. We've got Adrian Hendy and Daniel Hunt. Daniel Hunt is around about, he has 27 points behind Adrian Hendy. Hendy had a good race as well, finishing in 6th place. He's just pipped to the top 5 by Stephen McAleer in the last race. So even someone like Adrian Hendy, if he can keep getting these top 10 finishes, it only takes someone like Hunt or Sharp, who've had a good night so far, to have a bit of a bad race, and the average score that Hendy gets will still be more. And that's just one of the great things about this championship, especially with the reverse grid, is there's sort of no result is guaranteed.
No, it's one of the fantastic things that I love about MX5 racing and that style of sort of racing, where there's very little aerodynamics. They're all close together. Everyone's fighting for mechanical grip and track position rather than sort of waiting for aero or with DRS or any assistances, because that means the likes of the top drivers obviously shine through over the championship course for championship, but they can have bad races, which means the other drivers, the likes of Hendy, can be just consistent, maybe back end of the top 10 for quite a long time in this championship, but then they accumulate enough points to take advantage of those who maybe have had an off day. So it's going to be a great race, second race. We'll see what happens with the likes of the top drivers coming through and seeing what happens in the AM Championship as well.
We're talking about consistency and how important it is. Kip Stevens, who is second in the championship, hasn't actually won a race this season. Neither has Adrian Hendy in the 4th. So Kip Stevens, I'm having like hit his stats now, he has had 7 podiums and 22 top 10 finishes. So Kip Stevens has finished more than half of the races so far. In fact, half of them, it's not half exactly, that'll be after this one, but ignore me. But Kip Stevens has had over 20 races where he's finished in the top 10. And that is really unbelievable. The only drivers who've had more top 10 finishes than Kip Stevens this season are Jamie Ayres, Daniel Hunt, and interestingly Ben Sharp as well. So there's a few drivers in there who are starting to put campaigns together, not just on pure pace, but just being able to grind week after week.
Well, I mean, a lot of people in real life racing, as we could call it probably, the likes of the touring cars, everybody says, oh, 30 races, that's an awful lot. Well, we're going into our 42nd race today, and that's not even halfway through this championship. So the likes of the drivers you just listed off there that are consistent are definitely going to be at the top end. And when it gets to the last 10 races or 5 races, then it'll be a shootout between probably those drivers to try and get as many points, and every little will count when it gets to that end. So it's really impressive driving all around from those who can be that consistent over 40 races.
Of course, another thing to factor in with the BSR MX5 Pro Series is that the drivers are racing for, throughout the season, they do race for showdown credits. And what the showdown is, it's a series of meetings at the last part of the season where the points are reset completely. And it's sort of like a mini championship from there, where the top 10 drivers, I think, from each class, Pro and Am, and also the Teams Championship as well, they get to do that. But each time you get a win, you get 3 showdown points. Each time you get a second place, it's 2. And a podium in third place is worth 1 point. So essentially what you're doing as well is by finishing consistently on the podium, you are automatically gaining points towards that end of the season showdown, where every point really does matter as well. So as we see the police car there at the side of the track, and that police car has been a source of entertainment for us for many weeks. So thank you very much, Steve Hansford, there for keeping up with that police livery. There we see it there in all its glory. I can't think of a pun at the moment for that one. So he is enjoying himself there. It looks like just chilling with his speed gun out. But pit lane speed limits will be held by most of these drivers. But as we were saying before, though, it's sort of the BSR MX5 Pro Series really is. It's a very long season, and even at this stage, people are looking towards the showdown points, and at the end of the season, I imagine, and sort of every little helps, because whatever you can do now at the start of the season will help you when it really matters at the showdown. The checkered flag now out for this practice session, which means very shortly indeed we will have the grid up for round 42, the second race of the evening. As we see now, the session has clicked over, so the grid is here. And it's Graham Slack and Alan Toon on the front row, Mick Barry and Phil Reagan on the second row. Third row is Steve Hansford and Sam McAleer, Ryan Moles, Ryan Main, David Ward, and Rob Graham rounding out top 10. Roger Morton, 11th, Aaron McGregor in 12th place for Ronin Sim Sports Academy. 13th place is Craig Jones, with Jamie Ayres, 14th for Championship Leader, Michael Vortman, 15th, Joe McDonald, 16th, Charles Caddyman, 17th, Steve Hefford, 18th, Kip Stevens, 19th, Vincenzo Amico, 20th, Peter Van Gool, 21st, Ralph Cullen is 22nd, Adrian Henry, 23rd, and Stephen McAleer, 24th. 25th is Ben Sharp, with Dave Chapman, 26th, Daniel Hunt, 27th, and race one winner James Sharp is 28th. Martin Sampson, 29th, and Nathan Davis, 30th. Rounding out the field are Stuart McAleer, Andy Maxwell, and Steve Cooley. So that is our 33 car grid. A bit less cars on the grid maybe than we've seen at previous meetings here at VAR, but 33 cars is still more than enough. There's a couple of cars potentially who will be starting from the pits as well due to having pit start penalties, but the lights now are on, and Graham Slack, it's going to be a bit of a nervous time for him. He's on pole position, but we are making sure that he does it right, and that's a great launch, but he gets some wheel spin, and that is and he's pulled off a track there. Graham Slack's had an issue, I think, there, so Graham Slack has a technical problem from pole position, disaster for him, but what it means is Alan Toon and Mick Barry are side by side going into turn 1. It's going to be Barry in the lead. We've got the Year 1 racing car, Phil Reagan, there, who will try and put pressure on Alan Toon for the lead, for Mick Barry for the lead. But it is Mick Barry in the lead, Phil Reagan in second place, and the police car in third place. Steve Hansford has got that car into third as they go through NASCAR at turn number 3. And it looks like there's a car there on the grass. There's a couple of them there. So some of the cars going grass tracking. But on the whole, it doesn't look like we've had too many casualties as of yet. But we still have half a lap to go.
Yeah, Steve Hansford, I'm sure he'll be hoping to put the blues and twos on so he can try and get through to the lead. But as we see Steve Hefford now with Jamie Ayres just behind him. So a fantastic start by those two, making up a lot of places. And there's chaos behind. We're with Stephen McAleer. He's side by side with the likes of Pete Van Gool, Ralph Cullinan, Ben Sharp, and all going. It's about 4 abreast in front of them as well. So, see McAleer, he's trying to get up the inside there. I think that's Pete Van Gool and Ralph Cullinan.
Behind Stuart McAleer made contact with one of the Year 1 racing cars, sent it round. As 3 of them who've sort of been held up in that one, shall we say. So the Year 1 racing car's not having the best of first laps. Saw Graham Slack having his issues at the start. Be interesting to find out what happened there, as we now see That is Graham Slack, in fact, side by side with McAleer. And it looked like Stephen McAleer had a massive moment going through. As we see the replay there of the contact, that wasn't the best of moves there. And Ben Sharp it was, he was turned around. Adrian Hendy and Graham Slack getting caught up in it as well. But the first lap, as you say, is a big field, 33 cars. They were all stacked up together following what I believe was a moment by Stephen McAleer going through turn 5. We just saw him at the back of the screen getting sideways. But at the front of the field, it's Mick Barry leading, but David Ward is in second place. So the result Cloven driver didn't have the best of first races, David Ward, but in a great position here. And the championship leader, Jamie Ayres, in 6th place with Steve Heffer behind him. As off goes Ryan Moles. That's another freebie for those drivers. Ryan Moles going wide at NASCAR. He'll get back onto the track though, and he'll lose a few places, but Jay is now dropped down a little bit further. Craig Jones dropping down the timing screen as well. So the driver who currently leads the AM Championships had a bit of a problem somewhere. He carries on slipping down the timing screen. So that could have ramifications for the AM Championship, as on the second lap of 10, we're going to have a replay and see what happened here. So, he got turned around by the car of McAleer. So McAleer's turned around Craig Jones. As Craig Jones got back on the track, I believe he has done, but he's lost a lot of time in 24th place. So the AM Championship leader is down in 24th place, but a lot of his rivals are ahead of him and near the front of the field. We've got Mick Barry in the lead, although David Ward catching him very quickly. That gap, as we can see now on screen, down to under 0.2 of a second as they go through Hogpen. Mick Barry will have to defend this quite hard from David Ward, I think. David Ward, he's a fast driver, is David Ward, and I think he's probably got a little bit more pace than Mick Barry at this section of the race. We've seen David Ward racing in a variety of different races and championships here on UM Racing TV, and Mick Barry makes it very easy for David Ward. They're both part of the same stable. David Ward racing for the Result Clothing team. As we go 3 wide behind the contact there, that is the car of Rob Graham with
Jamie Ayres
and Jamie Ayres.
Hefford.
Yeah, so 2 Momo cars and Rob Graham having contact there going into the first corner. There were 3 wides going into turn number 1. I just don't think that quite was going to work. We'll have a look at that on the replay. Graham gets up for us, and looks like Jamie Ayres sort of drove into the side there of Rob Graham. So Jamie Ayres potentially made a little bit of a mistake there and got into the side of Graham. And then there was a secondary contact which also collected his teammate Steve Hefford as well. So the Momo car's definitely not having the best of this one. Those 2 drivers as well had a very bad first race, so they're both having a lot of damage. And in the second race, they're not having the best of times again. There's a contact there with Hefford and one of the Result cars. That was Ralph Cullinan. Ralph Cullinan hard into the barrier, so that'd be one for the stewards to look at after the meeting there. Unceremoniously into the wall and out into pits and potentially retirement there for Ralph Cullinan. But trying to get my breath back, there's action going on all over here, Jack.
Yeah, I was about to sing the praises of the 2 Momo cars before that contact was made, because I thought they had the race at their feet. The likes of they had the amateurs just ahead of them, and I feel like they would have been the closest, the quickest cars up ahead. But this battle from 11th to 14th, there's some really top quality drivers in with Hefford, Hunt, Sharp and Van Gool as well. So these guys expect them to make moves, but expect them to make mistakes by the looks of it as well, with Jamie Ayres in 9th now, trying to probably get past Stephen McAleer. But the biggest gain of that was Dave Chapman, probably.
Dave Chapman's up 20 places. We could make that 21 very shortly. Alongside Ryan Main he goes, and he takes the position on the outside. He's going to break later than Ryan Main. Ryan Main up to 22 places to Dave Chapman. He is the mover of the race. Stephen McAleer has gone up 17 as well, and that's Kip Stevens going down the inside there as well of Martin Sampson. But Dave Chapman has made up 22 places, and that is phenomenal. As we see side by side, this is Daniel Hunt and Steve Hefford going through NASCAR turn 3, and Steve Hefford it is who just about carries the position through, but Steve Hefford, for not the first time tonight, is carrying damage to the front of his car.
Yeah, these guys really need to get their heads down, stop fighting. They can do that when they're all comfortably around the top 5 places, because they're all quick enough to try and get through the gaggle of cars in front of them if they stop tripping over each other. As we said, Dave Chapman's probably the quickest of the cars now in the top 5, and we'll be expecting to see Moles making a mistake there, and that lets Jamie Ayres through. Just a little bit of a twitch there at the back end lets Jamie Ayres through, and he's made another place up.
Problems on this lap for Nathan Davis as well. He's in the pit lane, so Nathan Davis has had an issue which looks like it could potentially be terminal. He's taking that toe back to the pits, but as you say, Jamie Ayres has made up a position due to the incident by Ryan Moles. I'm going to look at the replay now of Ryan Moles. So Nathan Davis is out of the race, so Nathan Davis looks like out of this one, but Ryan Moles in 9th place has got Rob Graham and Steve Heffer behind him. Dave Chapman is already pulling away though from the cars behind him. Stephen McAleer alongside Ryan Main, and Ryan Main's driving a sensible race, so he knows which battles he can fight and which ones is probably better to try and follow round. And Ryan Main is currently 6th. He's on the AM podium at the moment. Our AM leaders are Mick Barry and Phil Regan, and Jamie Ayres
is on.
Our championship leader, Jamie Ayres, this is a nightmare meeting for him so far. He just can't seem to stay out of trouble. I wonder what happened there, because it looks like he's just outbraked himself. There's no other cars involved. Jamie Ayres got straight on out of bed sharp in the first race that we saw earlier, and he's losing places by the bucketful there. James Sharp went through as well, the race 1 leader. As you see another replay, Steve Heffer's done exactly the same thing as well. So the Sim Homo drivers really not having the best of things tonight.
No, it's almost as if their setup's just not quite there, or maybe they've just changed a few things, but they're certainly not being as conservative as they probably should be, because we were stressing so much before this race. Consistency was key. As Heaven goes up the inside, I don't know if he was let that, but he touched the grass. He's taken too much speed now. He's managed to get away with that, and I think that was going through on Aaron McGregor, because Adrian Hendy's now the next driver up. He's made up 9 places up to 14th. Probably taking advantage of a few of the mistakes from behind.
Chapman's up 23 now. He's gone past Phil Regan, the Year 1 racing driver. So Dave Chapman on for a podium at the moment. He's got David Ward and Mick Barry ahead of him. We've got 5 laps to go now. And the gap between, let's have a look at the times. Ward did a 38.6, Mick Barry a 40.3, a 38.9 for Chapman. So he was a little bit slower, but he has gone past Stephen McAleer on that lap. And in fact, there's a car that's dropping down the timing screens that was up there in the front of the pack. Phil Regan down to 8th place. So Phil Regan's had a moment, and now he's had a little bit of contact with Rob Graham going through turn 1. So I think Phil Regan may have had an issue towards the end of the lap, going through Hogpen potentially. We see the replay now. Yep, that's what it was. Went wide at Hogpen across the grass, and that loses you so much time, because not only are you on the grass, but you lose your momentum down that whole front straight.
Yeah, these cars are so tail happy and so loose, as we see Phil Regan being overtaken there by Rob Graham again, is it? Yeah, with Kip Stevens in behind, and Jamie Ayres trying to make up yet again into the top 10. Jamie Ayres now really putting pressure on. Kip Stevens, of course, running 2nd in the championship going into tonight. Let's see if he can follow Jamie Ayres through, or even make some pressure on him himself as he looks to the inside of Jamie Ayres. But I don't think he's going to quite manage it, because he's gone the outside. Sorry, not the inside. I got the circuit mixed up then a little bit. But Jamie has taken an awful lot of speed, and you'll know Regan and Graham ahead of him are both AM drivers. He knows he's going to be faster. Will he keep calm enough to actually get past them in a sensible manner, though? Because we've seen Jamie Ayres maybe losing his head a little bit today.
That would be the key. Can Jamie Ayres, he's still in, despite all this, in the top 10. So it's not the worst of races he's still running, but that MX5 has seen much better days for Jamie Ayres. He's right behind Phil Regan, though, as they go down towards Hogpen for what is the 6th time. And Jamie Ayres will have a slipstream, but the damage on the front of his Mazda MX5, even though it's quite considerable, I think it will just be enough to pull alongside Phil Regan. It's not as good as it would be, but he has managed to pull alongside Phil Regan, as we now see that they run down towards turn number 1. Phil Regan is on our outside. Jamie Ayres will try and brake. We've seen him, though, get the braking all wrong for turn 1 a couple of laps back, but this time, no problem, and he's up into 9th place.
Yeah, it's worth noting as well, right at the front, Dave Chapman, he's actually taken 2 seconds out of Michael Barry in that last lap, and it must have been about a second the lap before as well, because he's right on the back side, really, of Michael Barry now, who we'll know, as I said, is a bit of an AM driver, and Chapman's clearly he's extremely quick driver and fairly concise with his moves as well. 23 places, the biggest mover on the grid, with Steve McAleer just behind him, the 2nd biggest mover on the grid, with 20 places gained. So these two clearly know how to get through the field, and I'm sure Michael Barry will probably know that, maybe not make it as hard, but he'll want to have his podium. He'll definitely not want to give that up.
No, exactly. Mick Barry, we've seen him have a couple of podiums this season already, just by the fact that he's been able to keep out of trouble. But Dave Chapman is a man on a mission, up 23 places, and I think this is one of those situations, maybe for Mick Barry, where for him to let Chapman through a bit easier than potentially he may do to an of the AM drivers, maybe his best way of doing it. He's got an opportunity here, Chapman, to go down the inside. Mick Barry not defending. Mick Barry is one of the smart drivers in the championship. As we say, he knows what battles to fight and which ones not to. Dave Chapman goes through, but he's got Stephen McAleer behind another 1.5 seconds. Probably, yeah, he's about 1.8 seconds quicker than Mick Barry. Then after that, Barry has got a 7-second lead back to Ryan Main. And of course, Mick Barry is leading the AMs at the moment as well. So he's got to think about that as well. He'll be getting, if he carries on, 3 AM showdown points for credits because he'll be the race winner for that class. As we see further down the top 10, we've got Rob Graham, Jamie Ayres and Kip Stevens fighting ferociously for those positions at the bottom of the top 10. Jamie Ayres, side by side, Rob Graham going through turn 2. We have the inside for NASCAR, and he has to move fixed before they even get into the corner. So he's able to take a preferred line. Daniel Hunt also in the back of that pack.
Yeah, I think just jumping back to that Michael Barry thing, he's currently 4th in the championship, and none of his championship contenders are even in the top 20 so far. We can't see him on your screen. So he's taken up loads of points. If I was him, I'd be trying to keep that in mind. As you see Daniel Hunt all over the back of Kip Stevens, who's all over the back of Rob Graham. How are they going to go into this right-hander up the hill? Graham trying to defend. Hunt's all the way up the inside. Is there going to be contact between him and Kip Stevens? There isn't. Stevens runs a bit wider. He's going to have the inside as Hunt for this right-hander, but now we go into the thin, snaky bit of the track. How are they going to line up when Hunt goes wide and he goes over the grass up the inside and Kip Stevens goes through?
Could potentially be a slowdown there for Daniel Hunt because he's cut the track and Steve Hefford on the outside, and these championship contenders fighting, scrapping for their lives at the bottom end of the top 10 as we now see Ryan Moles of Frantic Racing, who's up into 6th place. So Frantic Racing, we've seen as the season's come on, they are new to the championship, but they put in some very good results this season. We've seen them have AM victory as well so far, but Peter Van Gool has managed to get clear of that big battle, and I think he's probably going to be the favourite to get past these two, but he needs to be patient about it. He's got a bit of time. He's going to go try and get around the outside of Ryan Main, but Ryan Main is fighting for 2nd place in the AM of Ryan Moles. So the two Ryans side by side, Peter Van Gool behind, but as we say, there is a bit of a gap back between him and Jamie Ayres. It's about 2 seconds. Van Gool goes down the inside of Ryan Main, going into NASCAR. Ryan Moles pushes wide, and it looks like Peter Van Gool is in prime position, maybe to take another position, depending how Ryan Moles goes through turn 5. But Ryan Moles covers very well. But in that short amount of time we have been speaking, Jamie Ayres is already on the back of Ryan Main.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure where Pete Van Gool was probably worried about putting his car, but David Ward, what a race he's had. He's made up 8 places. He's got 1 more lap. Just to sort of enjoy this. He's currently 5 seconds, so he has lost a second to Dave Chapman in this lap, but there is only 1 more to go, so I'm sure he won't be too worried about it. What a drive he's had so far, pretty much from the 1st or 2nd lap all the way to the end, hopefully. Well, commentator's curse, hopefully, in David Ward, but he's had a great drive so far.
Yeah, David Ward's going into this meeting. He hasn't actually taken a victory in the BSR MX5 Pro Series. He has had 2 podium finishes and 11 top 10s. So David Ward to take victory will be yet another winner in the BSR MX5 Pro Series, the first time winner. But Dave Chapman on the last lap was nearly 2 seconds quicker. Chapman did a 1:38.101, fastest lap of the race. And Dave Chapman will try and put some pressure on, but 5 seconds in 1 lap, I think is too much, even for someone of Dave Chapman's ability to be able to catch. So we're looking at another 3-wide battle potentially going into.
No.
It's never going to end well. That's Adrian Hendy, Daniel Hunt, and Rob Graham. We saw earlier on in the race that happened. It didn't work out, and same result there. It hasn't worked out very well at all for those drivers.
No, that's unfortunate for them, and Dan Hunt will be annoyed at that one. He was probably the biggest loser in that in terms of championship. Unfortunately, he was 5th going into tonight, and he's had 2. Well, the first race he finished 2nd, but this one he's not been ideal for him. Now he's already in another battle, and he's being turned around again.
Ben Sharp
held well with Ben Sharp, but unfortunately he's been just sent off wide, so he's going to be falling down the order even more. 14th currently, and we wouldn't be surprised to see him go further down.
And he may get a slowdown when he crosses the track as well, because he's cut off a section of the track. Phil Reagan goes past. Rob Graham goes past as well. But the man who's had no problems in this race so far, David Ward, comes out of turn 11 for the final time. I go downhill into Hogpen for the final time. And David Ward, for Result Clothing, will be a popular winner in the BSR MX5 Pro Series. He has just the first start-finish line to go. Round 42, his first win of the season. It goes to David Ward. He takes victory at 139.5. Dave Chapman was at 138.3. So Chapman was catching him up at quite a rate of knots, but not enough laps for Dave Chapman. But a fantastic drive up 24 places. Stephen McAleer, another one who's had a massive gain, 21 places for third. And our AM winner is Mick Barry. So Mick Barry does take the AM win and fourth overall. Peter Van Gool takes fifth. Second AM is going to be Ryan Moles, who finishes sixth, and rounding out the AM podium is Ryan Main for Year 1 Racing Academy, who takes the third place in AM, 8th overall. And as far as those championship frontrunners go, Jamie Ayres finished 7th, Kip Stevens in 9th as David Ward and Dave Chapman indulge in a bit of donuts, and I should think the police car went to join that as well. So David Ward takes victory in this one. Dave Chapman second, Stephen McAleer third, and there's been some big gains in that podium.
Yeah, we're looking at the likes of Jamie Ayres, and he made 7 places, even though I think we saw him go off the track 7 times. But he managed to finish well in 7th, maybe taking advantage of a few other offs as well. I'm sure we'll be going to the results fairly soon, but all these drivers enjoying themselves after what was a really hard-fought race.
First of all, we're going to get Graham to spin the wheel and see who we're going to have on pole for round 43 of the BSR MX5 Pro Series, race 3 of the night. We've had 2 different winners so far. We've had James Sharp in the first race, David Ward in the second. The wheel is now spinning. Full -2 is the number that we're going to have on the reverse grid. So let's have a look. That is... Results are up now. So David Ward, I think it's Graham Slack again who's on pole position. David Ward has won the race from Dave Chapman by 3.7 seconds. Stephen McAleer takes another podium from McCumbee McAleer Racing in third. Mick Barry was our leading AM. He's finished fourth. For Peter Van Gool fifth. And Ryan Moll sixth. He was second in the AMs. Championship leader Jamie Ayres, as Jack said, probably went off about 7 times. He takes 7th place. With Ryan Main rounding out the AM podium, 8th overall. Kip Stevens was 9th, and Steve Hefford 10th for Momo. Vincenzo Amico 11th, Ben Sharp is 12th, with Sam McAleer 13th. Phil Reagan 14th, Rob Graham was 15th, and 16th was his Team Automet Not Kill teammate Martin Sampson. Adrian Hendy finished in 17th place, and Aaron McGregor in 18th. 19th was Steve Cooley, with Michael Vortman 20th, and Craig Jones in 21st. Charles Kellyman in 22nd, with Andy Maxwell 23rd and Roger Morton 24th. Alan Toon was the final driver on the lead lap in 25th. We saw Daniel Hunt having his issues in that last race, and he's now finished in 26th place. Although he may have had the reverse grid on his mind following that contact at the end of the last lap, it will do him probably the world of good. Graham Slack is in 27th, and Joe McDonald is 28th for lap down. And our retirements are James Sharp, Nathan Davis, Ralph Cullinan, Steve Hansford, and Stuart McAleer. And a full -2. Is that Daniel Hunt or Graham Slack? Because they're both on 1 lap down. Joe McDonald also 1 lap down. So it's going to be... So full -2 is Daniel Hunt, I believe. Full -2. So, yeah, Daniel Hunt, I think, is the driver who'll be on. My maths may be wrong there. It depends how they work it out. If the driver who finished in 28th is classed as full, and then you go the 2 from there. But we'll let the admins decide that one. That's not my job. But thank you very much, viewers, for watching round 42 of the BSR MX5 2020 Pro Series. And after this short break, we'll be back for race 3 of the night, round 43. Here on Year 1 Racing TV in partnership with Alpha Live. Hello and welcome back to Year One Racing TV in partnership with Alpha Live. My name is Dan Blake. Alongside me in the commentary box is Jack Oliphant, and we have Graham Sessman producing. We are here for round 43 of 140 in the BSR MX5 Pro Series. It's the third race of 4 tonight. In the last race, we saw David Ward become our 14th different winner this season. He took victory from Dave Chapman, who made a multitude of positions up to get second in his second podium of the evening. But in this third race, it's another big reverse grid, a full -2. And if that last race is anything to go by, Jack, I think we'll be going in for another race full of thrills and spills.
Well, I think people watching this circuit would think, oh, there's not many overtaking opportunities. Well, they are absolutely wrong. We've had plenty of movers and shakers up and down the field. We've had plenty of mistakes, people outbraking each other, a bit of contact. We can see one of the examples of a car getting loosey-goosey on the S's there. So, yeah, it's going to be a really fun, interesting race. Another big reverse grid is what every spectator wants to see. Maybe not what the winner of the last race wants to see, Mr. Ward, but the other drivers, I'm sure, will be given a good chance to maybe get their podium silverware as well.
David Ward didn't have the best of races in the first one. It just shows how the reverse grid system that can help you, that if you don't have a good race in the previous one, that it's got a second chance. And be interesting to see who has the pole position. We saw the problems that Graham Slack had in the last race. I wasn't able to actually catch up with him between races to find out what it was, but a very bizarre moment that he had at the start of the race, which saw him move over, and it seemed like maybe a technical problem, so hopefully he'll have that one fixed.
Yeah, it was a very odd sort of turn of events, really. He's jumping out the way of the likes of Chapman, who's one of the stars of the show so far today. Yeah, it was a very odd turn of events. It was sort of a reminiscence of the Australia Daniel Ricciardo incident, where he just got off the line, got onto the grass, and everything sort of went wrong. He seemed to just pull off to the side. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on, and maybe we can speak to him at some point and see why it went so.
I can see if I can have a chat with him between this race and the final race. I know where they're hiding, so we could bring him in now. In actual fact, I don't think he's in our server. We'll have a look though. What I could do, Jack, is I'll have a quick chat with Graham now, actually, and if you want to have a quick chat about what we got ahead of us, I'll be back very shortly.
Indeed. So yeah, looking ahead, we've had a couple of movers and shakers, as I said, over the first couple of races. James Sharp, currently top of the times in this practice session that the drivers get just before they line up on the grid. He won the race one in a rather convincing, I think it was a 6 or 7 second gap to the likes of Hunt and Chapman, who were having a good scrap in race one. And in fourth place as well, Ben Sharp. He was set back a couple of places early on in race one, but he managed to get back up to fourth place with Stephen McAleer just behind him. Race two, Ward, and we see the checkered flag coming on, so I'll make this quick. Ward managed to convincingly win the second race, with Chapman and McAleer making up over 20 places each to get up to second and third, with Barry, the top placed AM driver, and Pete Van Gool as well, the top Momo driver of the race as well, as they haven't had such a good time of it so far. But we can see the grid lining up. We got first Daniel Hunt, second Alan Toon, Roger Morton in third, and Andy Maxwell in fourth. Charles Kellyman and Craig Jones make out the third row, with Michael Wortman, Steve Cooley, Aaron McGregor, Adrian Hendy rounding up the top 10. Martin J. Sampson with Rob Graham in the top 12 positions and 11th as well. Phil Regan in 13th, Sam McAleer 14th, 15th, Ben Sharp, Vincenzo Amico in 16th, Steve Hefford in 17th, 18th is Kip Stevens, Ryan Main in 19th, Jamie Ayres not having such a good day in 20th, Ryan Moles in 21st, Pete Van Gool 22nd, and Michael Barry in 23rd, with Stephen McAleer in 24th. In 25th is Dave Chapman, David Ward 26th, Graham Slack 27th, Joe McDonald in 28th, and 29th is James Sharp, Ralph Cullinan in 30th, Stephen Hansford in 31st, and rounding out the grid is Stuart McAleer in 32nd.
So we're down to 32 cars. I do have some news from Year One Racing, but we'll get to that very shortly because the lights are on. And Daniel Hunt on pole position. That is a fantastic start. And whatever happened to him at the end of the last race, it certainly put him in a good position for this one. I can't see anything other than a Daniel Hunt victory. I've got to be honest at the moment, because Daniel Hunt has been the most winningest driver, of course, in the BSR MX5 Pro Series with 8 wins, and he's got the odds. Oh, Steve Hefford there with a little bit of a coming together, and that is with one of the McAleers. That's Sam McAleer.
Dave Chapman as well with them.
Dave Chapman involved as well. So Dave Chapman's had 2 podiums. Kip Stevens above Steve Hefford. I think that Ben Sharp too, and James Sharp even. So James Sharp, our race 1 winner, is having issues, and Sam McAleer, it looked like was an unfortunate victim there. It looks like the contact with Steve Hefford has caused him a food pump. Ben Sharp is round now, so curse the commentator, Ben Sharp is round, and he was pretty frustrated when I went and spoke to the year 1 guys there, and it was just a moment ago. And with Graham Slack, what happened was, this was another car going backwards across a track. Oh, that's not good. That's one of those stingers that the police have dropped out there, and there's a couple of, I think that's 66, look like Ryan Main potentially there.
That was Ryan Main, and Dave Chapman as well.
And
he was
Dave
involved
Chapman.
in that little kerfuffle there, unfortunately, as well with the police. But yeah, Daniel Hunt currently out in the lead with Roger Morton in 2nd place. Giles Kellyman and Michael Wortman coming up behind, and Aaron McGregor rounding out the top 5 so far.
Yeah, 3. Oh, Dave Chapman's in the pit, so it looks like Dave Chapman will not be finished his race. Peter Van Good as well. So 2 big names, along with Sam McAleer as well, another race winner in the championship. So 3 drivers who, and Daniel Hunt is just 3.5 seconds clear already after the first lap. And I think Daniel Hunt, as I said, he's going to have to do something quite spectacular not to win this race. But the battle is going on behind. It looks like Michael Vortman and Charles Kellyman side by side. Aaron McGregor in that one as well. And Aaron McGregor has actually gone up into 4th place for Roning Sim Sports Academy. So Aaron McGregor up into 4th place. Charles Kellyman, though, is not going to make him have an easy time with that. He's in 5th place. But currently in 2nd place and leading the AMs is Roger Morton, someone that we don't really see much of on camera. So we'll give Roger his 15 seconds of fame as such. He's doing really well so far in the first lap of this race. He stayed out of trouble, and Roger Morton in that car there, the number 97, the work safeguard by result car, in 2nd, but he's going to be put under a lot of pressure now for Michael Vortman, and this is the battle for the hotly contested AM lead.
Yeah, it's a brilliant championship to keep an eye on. Morton currently 5th in the championship going into tonight. He's currently got Wortman all over the back of him, Kellyman and Craig Jones as well in the top 5 of the AMs, and they're all fighting for championship positions. So this is going to be a really hot and heavy battle here. These top 5 cars to try and get the 2nd and 3rd positions. Daniel Hunt, they've not got a chance of catching him, unfortunately for them, but Daniel Hunt really enjoying himself as we see these 5 cars rounding out the other 6 positions.
Adrian Hendy is in 7th place, and he'd be a driver to watch out for, the A1 racing driver we see there at the back of the pack, because he's 4th in the championship going into the race. The drivers in front of him, they're mostly AMs, although he has got Aaron McGregor ahead of him, and Michael Vortman is rather quick as well, but the majority of these drivers are AMs, so if he can push his way through, he may find himself potentially on the podium. Jamie Ayres, though, up to 8th as well. So Jamie Ayres is making some moves as well. We saw him have a very sort of scrappy, by his standards, first 2 races. But we're side by side nearly there going through turn 2 and towards NASCAR, the left-hander, which they're at now. And Roger Morton is safeguard by result. He's carrying on in 2nd place. And you can almost see Michael Vortman there. He was that close behind him. And that battle is raging on very nicely. And just behind them, we've got Martin Sampson and Jamie Ayres as well. So that field looks like it is going to be added to. Maybe that Morton is slowing the rest of them down a little bit.
Yeah, Morton's definitely slowing this train down. It's currently going to be a fight for 2nd place out of the other 9 players in the top 10, if that makes sense. So all the way down to 10th place, you're going to be fighting for 2nd. Roger Morton currently holding that position, but he's got a lot of laps to have to hold it for, and all this time Daniel Hunt's pulling away, so it's going to be really interesting to see. As we see, Wortman's gone through and Morton's gone backwards, unfortunately.
Yeah, Aaron McGregor and Michael Vortman going past Roger Morton. It was a small mistake there. It's lucky it hasn't cost him too much, but it has cost him his beloved AM lead. And Charles Kellyman, though, and there's side by side between Vortman and McGregor as well. Vortman pushed wide, coming out of Hogpen. McGregor trying to get the slipstream alongside the driver. And in fact, I think Roger Morton's gone around the outside and took 3rd place back. So I don't know what's happened to McGregor. Maybe McGregor had a slowdown or something. It was McGregor hit the curb and went loose, but that's an interesting... he was going to try and cut back down the inside of Roger Morton. They're leaning on each other, leaning a little bit more, and you've got to be careful when you lead these cars. They can take a little bit of contact, but they're light, and they won't take it that much. Adrian Hendy, though, we said about him making positions up. He is now up into 5th place, but that group now contains the likes of Jamie Ayres, as we see McGregor and Morton again. Oh, that's a bit more robust contact there, and that's actually set McGregor off. So McGregor has made contact with him, and McGregor's come off second best there.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him, and now the others have gained positions because of that. Yeah, as we see him spearing into the wall, that's never what a driver wants to see. By the looks of it, he might have just got all sort of hot and heavy onto the curb as well, and sort of sent him round. These cars are extremely back-end heavy, back-end light, sorry, back-end happy is what I was going to say. And it's easy to upset them, but now we see Roger Morton leading this little pack with Wortmann having sort of made some space in between second and third now. With Adrian Hendy just behind him, Jamie Ayres all over the back of Adrian Hendy. Jamie has had a terrible evening so far. I think he'll be the first to admit that, but he's really looking to gain some points back in the championship fight, and by the looks of it, he's really attacking the 4th place man of Adrian Hendy now.
So Vincenzo Amico make a move on Charles Kellyman, but at the moment it seems we're all aboard the Morton chain. Choo choo. So Roger Morton is in 3rd place, Adrian Hendy is in 4th, Ayres 5th, Amico 6th, Kellyman 7th, Sampson 8th, Jones 9th, just like that. So Roger Morton has a swarm of angry MX5 drivers, I'd say, trying to get past him. He's gone pushing very wide there into turn 1. Hendy goes through. Jamie Ayres will be trying to luck in as well. Oh, maybe a little bit of contact there. And Jamie Ayres has actually had to get in behind. And this is a good opportunity for Adrian Hendy to maybe try and pull away. Jamie Ayres, though, he will not want to be stuck behind that safeguard car any longer than he needs to. He's going to go for a move down the inside. There we go. Jamie Ayres. He was made a little bit easy for him by Morton. Oh, contact with Amico. Amico and Morton make contact. Kellyman caught up in it as well. That's what you get sometimes when you have the slower drivers fighting with the faster ones. Some misunderstandings. Maybe it happens occasionally. A bit of wheel on the grass there for Roger Morton as well, and yeah, it's contact. That's probably the best way to say.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him there. I think Morton, since you made it your train joke, he's been all falling down the order, so he must have heard you, I think. But yeah, unfortunately for him, it's not been a good first half of this lap, falling further down the order. But that has opened up the lead pack now, with Daniel Hunt now 7.5 seconds ahead of Michael Wortmann, currently the top place AM driver, who's 4 seconds ahead of Adrian Hendy, and Jamie Ayres a second behind him. Roger Morton and Martin Sampson are the other top 3 drivers, second and third in the AM class. And Stephen McAleer as well on board with Martin Sampson, who's now getting attacked by McAleer, in fact. So McAleer is going to be trying to look up the inside for the next corner. He's going to have the slipstream from the car in front as well, Roger Morton, and he's going to have that move done and dusted before they even get to the first corner. Whether Martin Sampson will try and carry his momentum around the outside is another thing, but there we go. McAleer has made the place, he's made the braking zone, he's made the apex.
And Stephen McAleer started this race in 24th place. So we're talking about drivers who were making moves in the previous race, which McAleer was one of them. And again, he is making a lot of places up. So Stephen McAleer, if there's a Forever Forward award, he'd be right in line for that. As we look further down into the top 15, that's Ben Sharp in 13th place. He has got the car. Oh, Steve Hefford there, getting very loose and wild there. And the drivers behind watching and admiring that was Ralph Cullinan ahead of Ben Sharp, and they've had to be a bit wary there because there was a chance that Hefford might shoot across the track if he lost the control, but very good car control there by Hefford, the long-time veteran of this BSR MX5 Pro Series. But Ralph Cullinan can sniff an opportunity down the inside going in towards turn 7, but he's thought better of it, although Steve Hefford has now pushed a little bit wide, but Hefford will maintain the position for now.
Yeah, it's going to get very narrow now, and these cars are going to have... There we go, there's the contact. Cullinan making contact with Hefford. Hefford just got a little bit loose over the top of the hill now, and Cullinan has lost out 2 places as well. James Sharp has gone through on Cullinan. So it's the lining up the likes of Steve Hefford getting loose on the top of the hill, with Ben Sharp now just behind him trying to put pressure on, with James Sharp and Ralph Cullinan unfortunately losing out, but it could have been a lot worse there.
there's a couple moments there where you thought this could end up in a bit of a pile-up, but they've all got through, and at the moment they are fighting in that bottom end of the top 15. Out front though, Daniel Hunt has an 8.5 second lead between Michael Vortman. Adrian Hendy in third is under a lot of pressure from Jamie Ayres at the moment. The gap there is about 2.5 tenths as we see Daniel Hunt just going through turns 5 and turn 6. But there we go, that's what I was just alluding to, the fact that Jamie Ayres has caught right up to the back of the Year 1 racing driver. These drivers are 4th and 1st respectively in the championship. Adrian Hendy in 4th and Jamie Ayres our championship leader. And following the first 2 races, I think it was slightly it would gentle the nerves a little bit, calming down a little bit Jamie Ayres, because the first couple of races were not very Jamie Ayres-esque really from what we've seen the rest of the season, but in this one a lot more of a composed drive.
Yeah, I've been in that situation before where, you know, you're in a good position in the championship, things start to go slightly wrong, and you just sort of lose your head with trying to overdrive. He's taken a step back, which is exactly what you need to do, composed himself and made up 16 fantastic places as well. He's one of the highest movers and shakers we've got, with Steve McAleer behind him. Not quite directly behind him, but he is the position behind him, making up 19 places. And James Sharp, actually, our race 1 winner, had a nightmare second race, 5 laps down on the finish. He's made up 18 places as well, up to 11th, so he's making moves as well. Dave Chapman, our last highest gross positions gained in the last race, still in the pits with Pete Van Gool and Michael Barry as well. So unfortunately those drivers we saw in the pits have stayed there. But we see Jamie Ayres, he's trying to push around the outside now with Adrian Hendy. Will he keep his momentum around the outside? We saw this quite a lot in race 1. The move can stick if the momentum can be carried. He'll be on the inside for the second NASCAR left, I believe you were calling it before, and he is going to be on the inside. Will he make the move stick? Yes, he does. Yeah. Jamie Ayres has made his way through into 3rd place.
So he takes 3rd place just before NASCAR. It's a good move from Jamie Ayres, and he takes that podium place. And Adrian Hendy in 4th place, with Stephen McAleer, as you say, up 19 places in 5th place. James Sharp has got about another 2 seconds, about 3 seconds if he's going to go past Charles Kellyman to take his 19th place. And as we see, Steve Hefford in trouble again. So on the exit of NASCAR on that little short shoot, looks like there's been an issue for Steve Hefford. He's got Andy Maxwell alongside him. He's going to hold on to that position. We're going to have a little replay that looks like David Ward potentially alongside him there. So it's, yeah, looks like a little bit of contact there between David Ward and Steve Hefford. Hefford's gone round, hasn't lost too many places, but I'm sure he'll be pretty annoyed about that one.
Yeah, he's not going to be too impressed. And Hefford, we were saying about Jamie Ayres having a bit of an off night. Hefford's, at the moment, Jamie Ayres having a good 3rd race, but Hefford, he hasn't really basked in much glory tonight either. So the Momo cars has been slightly struggling around here today, but they'd probably be looking to finish it strong in race 4, as we see Joe McDonald now just behind David Ward, who I think took the victory in the last race. So David Ward not doing quite as well as he did in the last race. Stuart McAleer behind Joe McDonald here as well. Fastest man on circuit, I believe, is actually Ben Sharp with a 37.6.
James Sharp just goes faster there, 137.495. So James Sharp, our race 1 winner, has the fastest lap in the race. And you were saying about Momo having a poor night, but what we've got to remember is we've got the Teams Championship as well, and they are losing a lot of points in that Teams Championship tonight. It's not going to be the end of the world for them. They did have quite a big lead, but you can't afford to continually have multiple amounts of your cars having issues like that, because you will lose a lot of points in the Teams Championship, where I believe it's the first 3 of 4 cars get classified for points. So Momo can't afford to have too many drivers having bad nights at the same race, because it really will affect them for that Teams Championship.
Yeah, I think Year 1 are just behind them, and with the likes of Adrian Hendy, who's been sort of finishing quite solid over the last couple of races, as you were mentioning, especially tonight, and Ben Sharp, who's been a bit more up and down, but had some solid results, especially that race 1 result. Yeah, they'll be sort of looking forward to seeing how the team championship maybe is closed a bit in this last, tonight.
That's something we can look at between race 3 and 4, as the last lap board goes out now for Daniel Hunt. He's got nearly a 10-second lead as well. And in terms of the BSR MX5 Pro Series, it's been an absolutely dominant drive from Daniel Hunt. He's not made a single mistake as of yet. I don't want to put the curse of the commentator on him, but he could be the driver to take 9 wins this season. He's got a couple of lapped cars. He's overtaken one of those. It looked like it's one of the Ronin Simsport Academy cars, like with Steve Cooley or Aaron McGregor, that is, in the white car. So as you see, Daniel Hunt going around towards the snake section for the final time there. So Daniel Hunt, even though he's winning, he's getting the car loose and pushing. And this is something that I experienced last week on the races I did as well. That even if you're that far in the front, you can't really sort of let off because you've got your rhythm. You've got you're sort of in the rhythm. You're in the zone. And if you try and back out, you can actually have more chance of having an accident rather than if you're going at full race pace.
Yeah, it's completely conflicting views, really. A lot of people would say, oh, take it easy, 10 seconds. But if you take it easy and spin because you're not concentrating, it's all gone wrong all of a sudden. And that 10 seconds turns to 1/10. So, but he's done a fantastic job here, Daniel Hunt. He's going to round, hopefully, this back mark without any problems, go into the final complex of corners and enjoy what will be, I think, make him even more the most winningest driver we've had.
Yeah, round 43. Looks like it's going the way of Daniel Hunt. That year one car, a lot of damage. Oh, it's blown his engine. Graham will not be happy. That bill will be going back to the driver. But race 43 of the championship goes to Daniel Hunt. He's 9th of the season. A dominant drive from lights to flag. And one of the most dominant drives I've seen all season. But the AM winner in second place overall, Michael Vortman, who blows his engine as well. That was very bizarre. Jamie Ayres takes the final place on the podium, a championship leader getting valuable points. Adrian Hendy is 4th with Stephen McAleer in 5th. Second AM is Martin Sampson, a great result for the Team Automat Knock Hill driver Martin Sampson. He'll be delighted with that one. And Roger Morton gets 3rd place in AM as well. So some new faces at the top of the AM podium. And it's a delight to see Roger Morton there at number 97, safeguard by result, is 3rd. And Craig Jones, the AM championship leader, 9th overall, finishes 4th, ahead of his main protagonist, Charles Kellyman, in 10th place.
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine on who comes out that race with the AM Championship lead, because Jones did well, Maxwell didn't, Kellyman did all right. Yeah, it's a completely thrown a spanner in the mix of that, but what a fantastic race we just had from all round.
It's great racing indeed, and the Momo cars, apart from Jamie Ayres, they do seem as a team to be really struggling, so they need to gather their thoughts for the 4th race. And speaking of the 4th race, it's time for Graham to spin that magic wheel and decide who's going to be on pole position for our 4th and final race of the evening, round number 44. It's spinning. A full reverse grid. So that means that the driver who is 1 lap down, Aaron McGregor in 24th place, I make it on the reverse grid pole position. The results will be up very shortly. There they are. So it's Daniel Hunt who takes victory by 10.1 seconds to Michael Vortman, who takes the AM win. Jamie Ayres rounds out your podium in 3rd with Adrian Hendy. Another good finish for him in 4th place. Stephen McAleer as well. He's been consistent tonight from Macumbi McAleer Racing. He rounding out your top 5. And Martin Sampson for Team Automat Knock Hill, 2nd in AM, 6th overall. Vincenzo Amico is 7th, and rounding out the AM podium is Roger Morton, with Craig Jones 9th overall, 4th in AM, and Charles Kellyman is 5th in AM and 10th overall. Ben Sharp, 11th place, ahead of James Sharp from Movano Racing. Ralph Cullinan, 13th. Rob Graham takes 14th. Race 2 winner David Ward finishes 15th. Joe McDonald in 16th, and Stuart McAleer 17th. Steve Hefford, we've seen him have issues during the race. He finishes the race in 18th place. 19th for Andy Maxwell, Ryan Moles 20th, Alan Toon is 21st, Phil Reagan 22nd, and drivers who were 1 lap down or more. In fact, it's Ryan Main who's going to have the reverse grid pole because he is 1 lap down. Aaron McGregor is 2 laps down. So Aaron McGregor is going to be classed as unclassified, I believe, at 2 laps down. Dave Chapman also a retirement, alongside Kip Stevens, Steve Cooley, and Steve Hansford, also a retirement there in that one as well. So it was Aaron McGregor we saw later in the race. There's a few more retirements there as well to go down the bottom of the order. There was 32 cars that started the race. So we've got the other drivers of Graham Slack, another bad race of Graham, Sam McAleer, Peter Van Gool and Mick Barry. So that rounds out the 32 cars, and Ryan Main will be rushing to give Graham Sesson engine money, and then he'll be starting the next race. So you see Ryan Main, the American driver there, who potentially has put himself on pole position. And what we will do is we'll go for our last commercial break of the evening, and you'll be able to see what happens in round 44, the fourth and final race of the night here on Year One Racing TV in partnership with Alpha Live. Get your lights on, it's going to be dark, and we'll join you just after this commercial break. Welcome back to Year One Racing TV in partnership with Alpha Live. We are here at the Virginia International Raceway. We are on the northern configuration for the fourth and final time tonight. It's getting dark. The weather temperature is down to 18 degrees Celsius. It's going to be a little bit cooler, and that means that we could be in for some more spicy first lap action. My name is Dan Blake in the commentary box. Alongside me is Jack Oliphant. We have Graham Sessford on the production. As you can see, we are now coming to 8:30 nearly in the evening. It's going to get past some of these drivers' bedtimes pretty quickly, but before they go to do that, it's time to race. We've seen 3 great races so far tonight. We've seen 3 different winners. Daniel Hunt in the last race taking his 9th win of the season, extending his lead as the most winningest driver in the championship. David Ward became our 14th different winner in race 2, and James Sharp, it was who took the victory in the first race, making it 7 for him for the season as well. So we've had a mix of winners in this one, and for the next round here, round 4, it's going to be interesting because, as we say, it's getting cooler, it's getting darker, and Jack, I think this could be a bit more lively on the first couple of laps.
Well, it's getting cooler, it's getting darker, but it's certainly going to heat up, I think, on this 4th and final race of the night. It's going to be really interesting to see the first couple of laps, who is the big movers and shakers. We've got a full reverse grid for those who finished, or I think 1 lap down, you were saying. I can't remember the exact position. That means it's going to happen, but basically it's going to be a lot of overtaking, a lot of incidents. Hopefully we keep everything clean maybe after the first lap, but I'm sure everybody's going to be trying making the moves to get up as quickly as possible to try and hunt down that victory.
Also, I had a message between the 2 races from Chris Knox, who hasn't raced in any of the races tonight. He said he's had no practice. He's going to jump in for this 4th race, and he's asked me, what would be a good position for me to finish? Give me a target. So I've given him a target of 10th place. I think we've seen drivers get 20 places in this one, so that'll be one to watch, Chris Knox. You know how quick he is in that double clutch racing car. Decided to sit out the first 3 races, but it's going to join us in the finale, and he wanted a target set, so I've set one pretty high for him.
Yeah, I think 23 places gained was Dave Chapman. That's the highest we've had tonight. So Chris Knox, that's your challenge. You've thrown the gauntlet down to him there, Dan, and we'll see if he can come up trumps. If he can, it'll be a fantastic watch for us to commentate on, and a fantastic watch for those that...
Yeah, we will see some party tricks, but what I'll do is, as we are in a charity theme at the moment, if he does get into the top 10, I will donate £5 to a charity of his choice. So we'll put a bit of money on the line for that one. I don't mind donating a bit to charity. So there you go, Chris, top 10, and I'll give you some charity money for that as well.
And he's crashed. There is Chris Knox. Currently crashed. He's not wanting to get rid of your money, is he?
he's in shock because I'm opening my wallet. It's very rare this happens, to be fair. So he's in that much shock that he's crashed it there. But yeah, there we go. So the gauntlet's been laid down, Chris. You've got a bit of an incentive now as well. Go and give us some entertainment.
Well, he's certainly trying in the practice now. He doesn't have that much long until we go into the race, so he will be probably starting, I think, right at the back, furthest back possible. That'll probably be about 34th place. If he can get top 10, that'll be certainly worth the £5, I think.
Exactly. We get to see what progress he makes. Of course, a double mini challenge champion in real life. So Chris Knox, I've raced with him many times as well, and on Friday nights as well in the PDC Racing League, which you can see here on Year One Racing TV, and those are really exciting races. And Chris it's a very clean race, so we go wheel to wheel on there, but it's a bit different than these sort of cars. But Chris's racecraft, the reason I'm saying all this is because he does have extremely good racecraft, and it'll be interesting to see how he uses that as a flag goes out now for the end of the practice session. And we are going to be going to the grid very shortly indeed for the 4th and final time tonight. It's Ryan Main on pole position. He's giving Graham the money. He's back on the grid. Phil Reagan alongside him for a Year One Racing 1-2. Alan Toon is third with Ryan Miles 4th. Andy Maxwell 5th. Steve Hefford 6th. Stuart McAleer is 7th with Joe McDonald in 8th. David Ward is 9th. Rob Graham runs out of top 10. Ralph Cullinan is 11th with James Sharp in 12th. 13th place on the grid for round 44 is going to be Ben Sharp with Charles Coleman 14th, Craig Jones 15th, Roger Morton 16th, Vincenzo Amico 17th, Sampson 18th, Stephen McAleer 19th, Adrian Hendy rounds out top 20, Jamie Ayres 21st, Michael Vortman 22nd, Daniel Hunt is a favourite in the race 3, but he's now down in 23rd, Aaron McGregor 24th. And the last few cars on the grid are going to be Dave Chapman, he'll be looking for another good result, Kip Stevens, Steve Cooley, Steve Hansford, the police car, Graham Slack, Sam McAleer, Peter Van Gool, Michael Barry, and Chris Knox in 33rd. So that will be a 23-place gain if he can do it. So the lights now are about to go out here at Virginia for the final time.
Green flag,
it's Ryan Main, the American on the front row. Gets a bit of wheel spin though, and Phil Reagan, his teammate, will be looking to go past him on the outside line. And it's a 2-year one cars side by side. Behind them, we have the Frantic Racing car and also Steve Hefford, that looks like in 5th place, looking to make a move. Oh, Steve Hefford had to back out of that there. Reagan on the grass. He said he wasn't having a very good night when I spoke to him briefly earlier, and he's carrying on that, unfortunately. But it is his year one racing teammate, the American. In fact, that was Ryan Main. It was Phil Reagan who's in the lead, in fact. So it was Ryan Main who went off. Apologies, Phil. I thought it was you when you went off track. But 2nd place is Ryan Moles, and Steve Hefford is going to go round the outside, not quite able to make that move. And Stuart McAleer 4th, David Ward in 5th place. And we've seen David Ward win a race already. Oh, Ryan Moles off the track. That is going to be a loss of position. I think he may even be in the wall there, Ryan Moles. He's trying to get back on the circuit, but Ryan Moles is going to drop like a stone. There's also another result car off as well. That's Ralph Cullinan. So it looks like we've had some bother on that first lap. And it looks like it was pretty much self-inflicted. Yeah, we were able to curb onto the grass. Ooh, that's going to be an expensive one to fix. And it looks like a bit of damage on that one. So we have a look at that's Ralph Cullinan. Another one hard into the barrier as well. These MX5s taking a bit of a pounding tonight in the final race on the first lap.
Yeah, to quote Hot Fuzz, it's a nasty way to go when you go into the wall like that. But Phil Reagan, he's actually managed to spear straight off the circuit.
Well.
That's gutting for him. Not quite commentator's curse, but I managed to catch that just before. But unfortunately, Phil is going to drop down the order now, and that gives Steve Hefford the lead of this race.
And there's another year one car off as well.
That's Ryan
Main
again.
Yeah. So unless I'm very much mistaken, Phil has gone off in the first lap. So my earlier prophecy, although it didn't happen there, it did happen. Sorry, Phil. Steve Hefford, though, has taken the lead. So Steve Hefford leads this race with David Ward in 2nd place and James Sharp in 3rd. And these 3 drivers, this could be a very enticing and entertaining battle. These 3 drivers, all race winners in the BSR MX5 Pro Series. Steve Hefford with 2 wins, David Ward with his first win we saw tonight, and James Sharp, the 3rd car in line, has 7 wins. He is tied with Jamie Ayres for being the 2nd most winningest driver. In fact, he's actually 2nd. Jamie Ayres only has 6 wins. So the 2nd most winningest driver looking to make a move on David Ward as they go down the straight towards turn 7. He's very loose on the outside there. Did he make? Yes, he kept it on the track. I thought very tight between the grass, although he does clip a bit. Yes, oh, Stuart McAleer into the wall again. Stuart McAleer has gone into the wall, and the McCumbee McAleer racing car facing the wrong way. He was in such a good position there as well. He's just got to try and make sure he doesn't get hit now. He reverses the car around, but that is cruel luck for Stuart McAleer.
Chris Knox up to 16th position at the moment.
Chris Knox into 16th. That's some massive gains already. So Chris Knox is looking like I may have to put my hand in my pocket at the moment, but there's still quite a few laps to go. But Chris Knox already up into, it looks like 15th place, but he's got 2 cars in the pits as well. He's closing up on, if one of those in fact has gone into the pits, Stuart McAleer. Vincenzo Amico is in 5th place, and there we go. Chris Knox is going to go down the inside of Sam McAleer into 14th place, it looks like here. So Chris Knox making up another position down the inside of turn 1. He does. So Knox, oh, he's not going to go wide, is he? No, good driving there from Chris Knox, the Scotsman. He is now up into 14th place, and the next car in front of him is Yorkshire's finest, Phil Reagan.
Yeah, Phil's had an eventful time of it so far, and I'm sure the last thing he'll want is Chris Knox to get involved and lose him another place as well. But Chris is going to be all over the back of him to try and make you fork out. At the front of the pack, David Ward's taking the lead from... I don't know who's taking the lead now. Hefford has gone all the way through, but has he carried too much speed? Ward is trying to get up his inside. Hefford's gone wide. It's going to be interesting as they go into the narrow, snaky bit of this race. As we see, Hefford keeps that lead. Ward just behind. James Sharp just behind as well. And Ben Sharp as well in amongst all these drivers as well, looking for that podium position. Remember, 2 out of these top 3 are actually race winners, and Steve Hefford has got something to prove. He hasn't had such a good day so far. He's desperate for that race win. David Ward Sharp also having a win tonight, and Ben Sharp really, I think, disappointed with how his evening's gone as well. I'm sure he'll be keen to get a podium position. He's already had 1/4 today, I believe, in race 1.
Yeah, the top... I think it's at least the top 8 drivers in this race have been race winners this season. These 4 for the lead, Hefford, Ward, and the 2 Sharps have each taken at least 1 victory in the BSR MX5 Pro Series this season. So, as we see now, James Sharp looking to go around the outside of David Ward. The Movano car, is he going to do it? Oh, yes, he clears him. That's a fantastic move by James Sharp. David Ward down to 3rd. And if Ben Sharp is in 4th place as well. But Vincenzo Amico for Ronin Simsport Academy and Stephen McAleer, they are both catching up to this pack pretty quickly as they go through NASCAR Turn 3 there. So Stephen McAleer and Amico looking to maybe catch up, and Ayres is on the back of this pack as well. So we have got a pack of some of the very best drivers in the championship coming together. There's a car on the wall there as well, I noticed, on the inside. It looked like it was one of the safeguard cars. Alan Toon. So unfortunately an incident there for Alan Toon, but Stephen McAleer, as they go through turn 7, is visibly catching on that pack in front of him.
Yeah, and the pack and the driver behind this pack, who will inevitably catch them if they keep fighting like this, Daniel Hunt. He can potentially catch up to Jamie Ayres. All of a sudden you've got probably 8 of the top drivers you have in this championship all gunning it out for the first place position. This is lining up to be the best race of the night.
Knox watch up into P13 for Chris Knox now, so he's making up another position since we were last with him, as we now see him. In fact, he's made up another place as well. He's gone past Craig Jones, so he's in 12th place. This is a phenomenal drive so far from Chris Knox. The cars in front of him to get into that top 10 are Charles Kellyman and Adrian Hendy. So there's 2 cars he's got to overtake, and then I'm having to put my hand in my pocket. But at the front, Steve Hefford under intense pressure from James Sharp, and that pack has now been extended by those further cars. I thought I saw them all together. We'll have a look as we get a better camera angle. There we go. The 6 of them are together, and Jamie Ayres is not far behind as well. So it will be 7 very shortly, and it'll be interesting to see out these drivers in this top pack, which ones are more patient than the others, and which ones are really going to try and make something happen. As we say, this is the final race of the night. It is round 44 of the championship. And we're halfway through. Oh, Hefford getting wild sideways. And that, I think, is all that James Sharp is going to need. A loss of momentum. Hefford goes to defend the inside. But James Sharp should have the momentum around the outside. But Hefford does have the line for turn 7. And Steve Hefford keeps the position. But he's under a lot of pressure at the moment from James Sharp.
Yeah, this is brilliant racing. You see James Sharp. He's going to be all up in the gearbox of Hefford just ahead of him. We're going to see whether he's actually going to be able to make a move through any of this narrow, wiggly bit. David Ward's just dropped off a little bit from these 2, but as soon as Sharp makes a move on Hefford, they'll be backing everybody into each other again. As we see, Hunt is actually chasing down Ayres as well, who's caught onto the back of this pack. So, as we see, McAleer as well is on the back of David Ward. So, all of a sudden, this slipstream is going to be crucial going into the first corner.
There's going to be 2 moves potentially here for the battle for the last step on the podium and also for the lead. But Stephen McAleer is more likely to make the move on David Ward. I think he tucks in behind the result clothing car. Ward's going to defend that inside all day long. McAleer's going to have to go round the outside. The McCumbee McAleer Racing team principal in real life, Stephen McAleer, makes it show. And there he goes. Oh, contact. That's Mamiko into David Ward. That's unfortunate there.
Yeah, Miko just looked like he outbroke himself there, I think.
It's turning David Ward to drop out the top 10. But as I was saying, Stephen McAleer is actually the co-owner of McCumbee McAleer Racing alongside Chad McCumbee. So not only is Stephen McAleer a racer, but in the Battery Tender Global MX5 Championship in America, he is a team leader. And Chris Knox is now up into 10th place. So my hand will be going firmly in my pocket at the moment. Good driving by Chris Knox. Fantastic drive. But at the front, it's Steve Hefford and James Sharp who are going to go side by side through turn 8 and turn 9. Oh, a little bit of door banging there. We see this in the MX5s occasionally. Door banging there. So James Sharp now in the lead. He's looking to get a second win of the night. But Stephen McAleer, another driver as they go towards Roller Coaster, looking to make the move on Hefford. Oh, this is close racing. They see the lights. They're shining brightly as they come down towards 11 and 12. They're still side by side, although McAleer backs out of it. But what he'll hope, though, is it will give him a better run. But he maybe goes a little bit wider than he was expecting, but it still gives him a better run over Steve Hefford. And McAleer now in a prime space because he's gone down the inside line here. So Stephen McAleer is going to take second place, I believe. Oh, Hefford maybe put a little bit of a squeeze on, but McAleer is still not fazed by that. Stephen McAleer on the inside tries to brake later than Hefford. He's got the inside line. And Miko there. That's not the first time we've seen Amigo not so great on his brakes going into turn 1. This time doesn't make contact with anybody, but he loses position to Ben Sharp. So Ben Sharp up into 4th place, but Stephen McAleer is now taking 2nd.
Yeah, I mean, what a lap we've just had there. I mean, Stephen Hefford, he's seen the lead go and second disappear, all within about a lap of of each other, I should say. But Stephen McAleer doing a really good job, and I'm sure James Sharp will have been hoping that they were fighting for a bit longer so he could gain a bit of a lead. But half a second, that's well within the slipstream distance, as Hefford is now under the attack from Ben Sharp. I don't think he's going to have the space. Is he going to try and dive at the inside? No, he chooses widely to stick. But we see McAleer, he's gone wide, and Hefford's trying to make up ground against him as well. Will they go side by side? I thought there was going to be contact there. I think Dan did as well, but he's going to be going in single file, and hopefully McAleer can keep his car under control. This is the worst place you want your car to be starting to go loose. As you can see just how many ups and downs this circuit has, and it's really hard on an MX5 who's so back-end happy. But by the looks of it, he's got it tucked back under. He's going to try and chase down James Sharp as well. He's managed to pull a 7/10 gap.
So James Sharp starting to pull away, but Stephen McAleer, a multiple winner in the BSR MX5 Pro Series this season, he knows how to get a victory. And Ben Sharp putting Steve Hefford under all sorts of pressure. We've seen that the outside is where most of these moves are having to be made. And what that does, though, although it doesn't really give you the best for the first corner, when you get towards turn 2 and turn 3 at NASCAR, it is actually the better line to be on. But Ben Sharp's going to try and do it on the brakes going through turn 1, and in fact Ben Sharp not able to stick alongside, and he's going to have to be sort of a bit wary here. He's got Vincenzo Amico behind. Does he attack? Does he defend? As they go through NASCAR now, turn number 3, the left-hander, it is Ben Sharp still in 4th place. Hefford with a wheel on the grass though, losing him a little bit of momentum, and Vincenzo Amico all over the back of that Year 1 racing car, and he has Jamie S for company too.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Amico was any malice in it before, but we have seen him turn one car around, and Ben Sharp is in the most horrible situation for a driver. He's quicker, potentially, than the man ahead of him, but he doesn't want to make a move and not let it stick and have the driver behind him make the move on him and end up losing 2 places, because that would probably be what happened, as Jamie Ayres is right on the back of Vincenzo Amico as well. But we see Ben Sharp, he's trying to get all in the mirrors of Hefford ahead, and it's just not quite working out for him. We saw that Hefford could really defend well while he was in the lead of the race, but Hefford has actually dropped off McAleer, as James Sharp and him are battling for the race lead again.
Yeah, Stephen McAleer up into 2nd place, and he's going to give James Sharp, I think, a bit of a nudge there. I was going to say a bit of a hard time, and that literally is what he's doing. Gives him a little bit of a nudge there going into the hog pen, but both drivers' races are still intact. But James Sharp it is who leads by just under 2/10, and McAleer is going to have to go round the outside if he wants to try and make it in turn 1. James Sharp trying to drive the widest Mazda MS5, and that's allowed the cutback opportunity for Stephen McAleer down the inside, as Stephen McAleer later on the brakes does it. Stephen McAleer takes the lead. Sharp trying to fight back, and maybe a touch more contact there going through turn 1. McAleer on the inside, which is the preferred line, although James Sharp will try to carry his momentum around the outside. Not going to work this time. Maybe the cutback on the exit. If McAleer gets a wheel on the grass, he doesn't. So Stephen McAleer takes the lead.
Yeah, and this is going to be the penultimate lap as McAleer gets all loosey-goosey with the back. But he's actually held that fight off, and he's actually pulled somewhat of a gap. It's about as big a gap as we've seen so far, these top drivers. as we see Jamie Ayres still not being able to get up to and past Vincenzo Amico. Maybe he tried the move but didn't manage to make it stick as he's dropped down slightly. But now James Sharp has got problems with Steve Hefford as well. I'm sure Hefford, who got overtaken by James Sharp for the lead, he'll want a bit of payback and maybe take that second place off Sharp.
We're going to have a grandstand last lap here at VAR, that is for sure, as we see the defensive line already from James Sharp going through roller coaster, and this is music to the ears of Stephen McAleer, whose gap now is nearly a second. These drivers are going to be so preoccupied fighting for second place that I think Stephen McAleer may have a clear run. We'll see what happens though on this final lap, because James Sharp seems to take a lot more through Hogpen, and also Ben Sharp, a man on the move as well, the Civic Cup racer. He is now just over a tenth behind Steve Hefford. He'll be looking to try and make that move to the outside as the last lap board does go out for the final time tonight, as Steve Hefford will keep the inside line. It's going to be Ben Sharp on the outside as we have a look now to see what's going on there. Oh, contact! James Sharp has pushed wide as well. So James Sharp, Hefford, Ben Sharp, Amico Ayres all together as we see this battle really coming to fruition on the last lap. And it looks like at the moment we're going to stay as we are, but we still have over half a lap to be decided, and these cars are literally bumper to bumper.
Yeah, this is going to be a fantastic sight for McAleer in his rearview mirrors, but it's a fantastic watch for us as well, as Vincenzo Amico probably has the best view of the house at the moment, which you see Hefford, Sharp, and Sharp himself as well having a fight in for second. Will they be able to make any moves? We're coming up to the narrow point of the circuit. It's going to be a bit of a lunge if anybody tries to make it, or will they try and get out the last corner and get the draft?
So they come down towards the final time, and Hefford's car is speedway is there. He does well to hold it, but that momentum loss there could cost him any chance. A second, Amico's gone across the grass. That may be a slowdown penalty. I don't know if it will be, but it's definitely on the verge of one. But as they come down towards turn 11 and Hogpen for the final time, Steve Hefford in third place as company from Ben Sharp. But Stephen McAleer is the man who's managed to pull free from all of this. He has got literally just the start-finish straight to go. He will take that turn there, side by side behind, but Stephen McAleer takes round 44, and it's just going to be Steve Hefford taking third. James Sharp is in second place, and Chris Knox is going to cross the line now to take 9th place and earn a fiver for a charity of his choice there. 24 places gained. He's going to do the 360 as well. That is cheeky. In fact, he drops a position doing the 360 to Adrian Hendy.
So well, you did want showmanship at the end of the day, Dan, so there you go. You got the top 10 and showmanship for it.
That is just great driving from Chris Knox there.
Yeah, that's a good race all round. I think that was probably the most exciting race we had in terms of the leader. The previous races, we saw the leader really get away from start to finish, especially Hunt in that third race, getting a 10-second gap at the end. But that race really close down to the wire for the podium results, all the way down to sort of Daniel Hunt was only about 6/10 off the back of Jamie Ayres right at the end there. So the top 7 really close and thoroughly enjoyable racing and mostly clean throughout as well. So well done to them.
It's very good standard. The driving tonight on the whole, I think there are little bits of contact, but when you have this many cars in such a close proximity, it's going to happen. But on the whole, it's been a fantastic night all around, really. And Stephen McAleer taking another victory this season. He's on these multiple victories. Let's have a look now and see how many he's had. It's probably been 3 or 4 for Stephen McAleer, the driver who we say has raced at a high level in America and continues to do so, racing in the IMSA Pilot Challenge in the BMW. So a very good drive from him. I'm just going to quickly get that up. Stephen McAleer, I have now as winning. Let's get the stats up.
While you're having a look at that, I'm just going to point out that Jamie Ayres, although he had a terrible first race, a handful of top 10s in the last 3 races. So championship-wise, he hasn't lost out too badly there. From what we were saying, it was probably going to be a bad night for him.
That's a good result, actually, you say, for Jamie Ayres. He had 2 bad ones, and that was actually Stephen McAleer's 5th victory of the season. So although he hasn't done all the races, which sees him very low in the championship, he has won 5 races this season. So Stephen McAleer has been a real menace at the top of the timing and for the victories. So a very good result there by Stephen McAleer. And speaking of results, I think very shortly we'll have the results come up on the screen for the fourth and final race of the night tonight, round 44 of the championship. But before we do, we're going to see Chris Knox doing his 360 to cross the line. Adrian Hendy had to avoid him there, take a bit of evasive action. But there we go.
I'm sure Adrian Hendy won't be complaining about that as he picks up vital championship points in what's been a very consistent night for him.
Exactly. I think you could call that the money shot in more ways than one for Chris Knox there. So Stephen McAleer he takes victory from James Sharp. Ben Sharp on the podium, and I think a result from him in third place. Vincenzo Amico is fourth. Jamie Ayres, as we're saying, finishes off what was a second half of the meeting was good for him. First half, not so bad. And it looks like there's been a penalty for Steve Hefford as well. So the results have changed. There's been an amended result for this one. So Vincenzo may go fourth, Ayres is fifth. Daniel Hunt moves up to sixth, Dave Chapman seventh, Adrian Hendy eighth, and Chris Knox now ninth place, throwing the penalty to Steve Hefford. Charles Kellyman is 10th, Peter Van Gool in 11th, David Ward is 12th, with Kip Stevens in 13th, Michael Vortman 14th, Craig Jones 15th, and the AM winner was Charles Kellyman in 10th, with Michael Vortman second in AM with 14th and Craig Jones third. 16th overall, Andy Maxwell took fourth in AM. Sam McAleer is 17th with Phil Reagan in 18th. 19th is Mick Barry with Rob Graham in 20th. 21st place for Ryan Main, 22nd Joe McDonald, 23rd for Roger Morton, and 24th for Graham Slack. 25th place for Steve Hefford, who was one lap down after having received a penalty, it seems. Martin Sampson is 26th. Steve Cooley is 27th. Aaron McGregor, 28th. These drivers are all retirements. So Cooley, McGregor, Alan Toon, Stuart McAleer, Steve Hansford, Ryan Moles, and Ralph Cullinan are all retirements. See if we've got anyone waiting in our interview rating room. We don't at the moment. So if any of you drivers are watching the stream and want to have a chat with us, if you just come into the Year One Esports TV Discord, the link is in the BSR chat on the MX5 Tuesdays. We will have a chat with you and see how your evening has gone. It's been a really good evening of racing, Jack. We've had 4 thoroughly entertaining races. We've had, as we say, we've had the 4 different winners again. So the wins have been spread out, but there's been some fantastic racing and fantastic positions gained. And even though some drivers maybe not had the best of meetings, there's been some real standout individual drives.
Yeah, I think it's, as you say, one driver I think would rather forget that this night had happened. It's probably Stephen Hefford. He did well in that race, but we're not sure what the penalty was for. But it sends him backwards quite a long way. Yeah, we've had some fantastic individual drives. Obviously, that last race, Chris Knox was great, but the battle for first and second and third was amazing as well. We had Dave Chapman in the second race, making up 23 places as well. Which is joint highest places earned from this whole from today and from tonight. Stephen McAleer in that race as well. The winner actually made up 18 places. So that shows really the amount of space he had to take up, as we can see Chris Knox again providing a light show for us as he crosses the line. But yeah, a great evening's racing. And MX5s, they always produce fantastic, fun events. And that's why they're such a popular series to go into.
Exactly. I mean, I'm an MX5 racer in real life. I just know how entertaining these little Japanese beauties are, and they're producing fantastic racing week in, week out for us here on Year Racing TV in partnership with Alpha Live. It doesn't look like that we have anybody looking to join us for interviews tonight. So what we'll do is we'll say a fond farewell for tonight. My name is Dan Blake. I've been your lead commentator. I had Jack Oliphant alongside me and Graham Sessford on the cameras. Thank you very much for watching the BSR MX5 Pro Series. And if you're looking to see what we have coming up on the Year One Racing TV, tomorrow night we have the Paramax Racing E Series, where you see sim racers and drivers from the world of touring cars, GTs, and single-seaters. They come together and it produces fantastic racing, not only in the Premier Tier, but obviously Jack covers Tier 1 as well. We'll be showing the Premier Tier here on Year One Racing TV. On Friday night, it's the PDC Racing League for the Skip Barbers. They'll be having their 3rd meeting of the season, and that one comes from Laguna Seca. On Saturday, another first for Year One Esports TV, virtual cricket. We've had a couple of these going on as we follow the fortunes of Silverstone Cricket Club, and there'll be another match on as well on Saturday night as well. So plenty of action coming up. And then next Monday, of course, we have the British F4 as well. That goes into its penultimate meeting Sunday night, or Sunday afternoon, shall I say. We also have action from the iRacing Nürburgring Endurance Championship. We'll be covering the top split for a 6-hour race there. So plenty of motorsport action to get your chops around in the next 7 days. And thank you very much for watching YoM Racing TV in partnership with Alpha Live. We wish you all keep safe during these times, and we'll be seeing you tomorrow for more action from the Power Max Racing E-Series touring cars. Thank you and good night.